The Nostalgic Podblast will start momentarily.
This is your president, Donald J. Trump, and you're having the tremendous honor of listening to the Nostalgic Podblast. Is that what you call it? The yes. Nostalgic Podblast. It's great. It's huge. I've never heard it. But anyway, it's going to be tremendous. And if you believe that, you'll believe one day there's going to be a Lindsey Graham Jr.
The Nostalgic Podblast will start momentarily, and don't forget to give us a call.
Hey, this is Rodney. You're listening to the Nostalgic Podblast. And I don't know why. What the hell's wrong with you?
Oh boy.
Hey now. Hey now.
The show is about to start.
Hey now.
The Nostalgic Podblast will start momentarily.
Hey, it's the Nostalgic Podblast, and you're doing something somewhere, I hope. Damn you, hairy apes.
Oh boy.
The Nostalgic Podblast will start momentarily, and don't forget to give us a call. Ooh, the show is about to start.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Hey fellas, what time is it?
It's Podblast time! Yeah! I see the kids are here. Thank you, kids.
And the grown-up kids, too.
And the grown-up kids, too, yeah.
And we have a very special guest in the studio, Mr. Barry King, the host of BK on the Air on WBHF AM and FM.
I've been called special before for other reasons. Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here, guys. I'm so happy. I've been looking forward to this all week to be here.
Ever since Chance told me about you, I keep wanting to say BK and the Bear.
That's true.
Which makes
I've been called worse than that too, but yeah, that fits.
Yeah. BK and the Bear. That's what, and that's what I've been. Yeah, BJ and the Bear. But
saw me without a shirt on, you'd know how that makes sense.
I don't know what that means.
That's funny.
You're going to make me crave a Whopper.
Well, but
Well,
I don't
speaking of that, no, I won't go there. Sorry. You're right. Yeah, I had to watch the whole BK thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you said what time is it, you guys said it's Nostalgic Podblast time. I was about to say howdy doody, but I didn't know.
I remember that.
It's kind of a play on that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Perfect. Awesome.
Well,
I'm glad to be here, guys.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself because
you drove a long way to be here too. Yeah,
from Cartersville. Did you drive from Cartersville or did you drive from?
Drove from Kennesaw, which is a little south of Cartersville, so about 20 miles south there.
That's
but
not
still,
too bad.
Hey, I drive however long it takes to get here to be. I don't care. You guys could have been in Sarasota, Florida. I would have come. And we went.
Well, next week we'll be in New Jersey. No, just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Friends don't let friends live. I'm not going to say that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself now. BK's got a radio show on Saturdays, right?
Yes, I'm on Saturdays from 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on WBHF radio. That's AM 1450 and 100.3 FM from Cartersville, Georgia, and Northwest Georgia, just northwest of Atlanta. And I do a show there called BK on the Air, and it's just a show where I'm just retro, nostalgic, geeky monkey business is what I do for 2 hours. It's funny bits and talk about the old days. A lot of what you guys do here with the podcast. Yeah. That's why we actually I met Chance over there, and we became pals and discovered each other.
Wait, define that word pals. Wait a minute. You just said you're pals with this guy right here.
Yes.
I want to know how that happened.
Well, Chance has photos of me from about 50 years ago that I don't need to let the public see.
There you go.
And check hasn't cleared either. So, yeah, Chance and I, we discovered, actually, Chance and I I asked Chance, where was his mom in the 60s or where was his dad? Because we think they may have been fooling around with each other because we may be brothers. We're not sure about that. But we have a lot in common, and the nostalgia, the entertainment, growing up. People ask who I am, and I just simply say, I was born in the 60s, I grew up in the 70s, and graduated in the early 80s. That's the era that I'm from, and that usually tells you exactly what I'm into and what I grew up with and like. But it reaches far back, too. I listened to my parents' music growing up. They, as far as music goes, they would Fats Domino, Chuck Berry, and my dad even loved 70s classic rock and roll. So influence from parents and grandparents, nostalgia. Growing up, I was a latchkey kid after school, growing up and watched television babysat me when I got out of school, when I went home. I mean, Gilligan's Island, Star Trek, sitcoms, Munsters, Honeymooners, Jackie Gleason. I loved all that stuff. 10 lunch boxes in school, comparing everyone's 10 lunch boxes. I got the Bionic Man.
Do you have any? You still have any?
I do have 2 or 3 of the ones I had as a kid. I have a Woody Woodpecker lunchbox, which was my first one from Aladdin. Right. And then I have a Space 1999 lunchbox, and I think also
don't let Chance see that. Don't let Chance.
Oh yeah,
I have one.
It's really great.
I've got one.
Oh.
But we in school we always suffered from lunchbox envy. We had a cool one, but we always wanted our friend's lunchbox. You've got the Adam 12 one. You've got the $6 Million Man one. Oh, that's great.
You also got the last one.
Yeah. I did. I had Woody Woodpecker, so they didn't want that one.
I got to interrupt. Speaking of $6 Million Man, Al once had a $6 Million Man pinball machine.
I did. I should have kept it.
Those are great. And I remember playing that one. And it played the theme when you put a quarter in, and it was a fun one. I loved it.
But the one pinball machine I always wanted but never could get my hands on it because they were so expensive was Pinball Wizard.
With Elton John.
Yeah,
with the boots on and everything. Yeah. I remember seeing that one on the back of a truck once.
And those were the old. They made them the retro where the numbers just clicked. Boom,
where they weren't the digital readout. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But I love the noise they made.
Yeah, but the $6 Million Man one was.
It was digital. Yes, it was. Yeah. I can't remember if it was Midway or Bally made that one. I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, pinball machines, all that Atari. I just like flipping the switch on at WBHF every Saturday and talking for 2 hours of just the stuff that I love and I'm passionate about growing up. And we get calls and we just, it's a plethora of things. We can talk about from the 30s all the way up till today. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Let's listen to a brief clip from your radio show and let our listeners and viewers. By the way, real quick. We want to point out that there's no graphics or anything on our Facebook feed today because we're having a slight technical glitch with
OBS.
I wasn't going to say OBS, but OBS software. And, of course, at my house, that's why we've been at Al's house, is my studio's down because, there you go. is based on the fact that my computer finally decided to go belly up because of Windows. But we won't talk about Windows 10, will we? Anyway, let's listen to a little clip from BK's show at his radio station.
And here it is, 1982. You just heard it. The ABC TV crime drama T.J. Hooker premieres, starring William Shatner. It's funny how they took the name James T. Kirk, which is J.T. Kirk. He just reversed it, T.J. Hooker.
Well, it was Captain Kirk on the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah, and he traded in the Enterprise for a Chrysler. I think that was great. And it was a great cop show. I love T.J. Hooker, not because William Shatner is in it. I think it was a good cop show. No, I'm lying. If Shatner wasn't in it, I never would have watched it. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
Be honest. Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it.
That was great. That's
funny.
That was a short. Just a little short. Who was your partner in crime there with you?
Oh, that's my buddy Alan Sanders. Alan Sanders has a show on before me on Saturday mornings called Waking Up with Alan. I wake up with Alan every day. His wife doesn't care.
Oh,
but he's there
Yeah.
from 7 till 10 o'clock. So on WBHF. So and Alan fills in quite a bit at the big giant radio station in Atlanta with 3 letters down in Atlanta sometimes. So he's Alan's been a pal for many years, and we banter back and forth and have a great time, and fight like cats and dogs when the mics are off. But that's okay. That's part of the fun of the show. Yeah.
Well, he fills in a lot for Eric Erickson.
He does. He's filled in for Mark Aram. He actually used to fill in for Herman Cain a couple of times back in the day, too. So he's a fill-in guy for WSB. He's their go-to guy when people are on vacation sometimes.
He's there
that's
a lot.
great.
Well, good for him. He's working.
He is working.
He's working in a field he likes.
I love that we work. That's for sure. And we all love it. Love what we do.
Now, what is the best thing about what you do? That you do. I mean, that you like. I mean, I didn't say you like being on the air, but 2 hours can go by really quick. So you obviously, sometimes I'm sure you wish it was 3 hours. Sometimes I'm sure you wish it was shorter.
Do you know something? Because it may be soon. I may have to tell people I may be going for an extra hour. I'm talking to them right now. I don't want to cross over into the Braves when they come on. On Saturdays sometimes. No, it's simply because I love doing it. When I was a boy, I used to have a little Panasonic Pocket AM transistor radio. The little pocket ones that would go in. And I have a collection of that's. You guys collect things.
I still have my original.
The one thing that I do kind of collect now, and I don't go overboard with it. I got about 10 of them. I have 10 little transistor pocket radios. I just love, and they're all just AM only. I used to go. Grew up in northeast Alabama on Lookout Mountain, and I would go up on the top of the mountain in the middle of the night. You know how AM signals are in the middle of the night. Right. I would turn on that little radio station, that little radio on the mountain, and I would listen. I would just turn that dial and see who I could hear talking when I was 5, 6, 7 years old.
Got some good ones.
And I had a notebook with me, and I had a flashlight, so I could go. I'm hearing so and so from Washington State up here. Holy cow! And I wrote it down, and I loved that. And I was just thinking to myself, one day I really want to be on the radio. That's something I would love to do.
I did the same thing growing up. I had a Sears Silvertone 6 transistor radio. It had the little one earpiece.
Little white one, yeah.
And I would go to bed the same as you with a flashlight, and I would sit there and turn and listen to stations all over the country.
Because your dial wouldn't light up. Yeah, you're right.
Because of the Skywave on AM at night, you could pick up all
skipping
kinds.
I
listened to WABC, WCFL, and
WLS out of Chicago. Yeah, same ones.
And LAC out of Nashville.
KDKA?
Yeah, KDKA. That's the first radio station, wasn't it? KDKA Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Well, it continued, and then eventually in the late 70s, I saw WKRP in Cincinnati on television, one of my favorite shows, and I'm like, man, I'd love to do that. I love that show. It's so funny. Look at all the personalities that are at that radio station. It can't really be that way. Little did I know, later on I find out it's exactly that way at a radio station. But later on, flash forward so many years later now, and when I first got my first job on AM radio, at least over here in Georgia, I went out one day, and I still have the radio from when I was a kid, and I went out into the parking lot and turned the radio station that I was on. So, and I'm now listening to a radio station on a little radio that I listened to as a kid, wishing I could be one. Now I'm listening to my radio station on my little radio. And it just gave me a little warm, I'm going to cry. Yeah. It gave me a warm feeling, and it was really nice. And I
then you were
love that.
waiting to hear your voice on the commercial, I said,
you got some tissue? You got some tissue for PK?
Well, I had to run back in because I knew I was coming back from a break. I'm like, I can't listen to it anymore. Let's get back in there. So I really have come full circle, and I love it. I do it for fun, and the day it's not fun, I'm not going to do it anymore, but I don't think that day I'm ever going to reach that day, because I don't care where I'm on the air. It could be a tiny station with 1,000 watts, which our AM signal in Cartersville is 2,000 watts during the day. We're a class AA. We're a very small station. Right. But with TuneIn and with apps now, That is no longer
It's
a factor.
worldwide.
It's no
You can
longer
listen
a factor,
to it anywhere
yeah.
in the world.
And that's great. What a great time we
Yeah,
had.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, even though Cartersville sounds, that's just a little small town. You can hear you anywhere as long as if you have the internet.
And they do. I get emails from people in Germany. I hear people from Washington State. I hear people from Canada and people from England and Scotland that actually listen to my show and send me messages, and it gives me a real kick. It really does. I love it.
Yeah, I've got the, speaking of radios, I have the radio when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
My dad he said, you can have a gift. And he bought my brother one too. He bought my brother a 22 rifle. And I wanted this radio. Right. And the case had wore out. And I came over to Al's house one day. And Al had a black radio just like that, but it had the leather case like I used to have. Mm-hmm. So I talked Al out of the leather case. Yeah. So now my radio has the leather case. And Walt Taylor said, "Well, we'll hook it up, make it work again." But I didn't care. I didn't really care.
Just to have it, just
to
put it
have
on a shelf and look at it and see that radio.
Correct. And that's all I cared about at the moment. And I wouldn't mind if it worked.
Well, I still have mine, and it works. It takes a little
9-volt
battery.
Yeah.
And there were infinite designs too. They had Sony from the late 50s. They had so many different looks. The dial kind, the ones that you would have the little lever on the side. They all look so different, and they're all just, to me, the little works of art. I love all of them.
I'll show it to you. I have a little transistor. It's really about
Why don't you go get it right
big.
now? No, just kidding.
It's a red one. I forget who made it, but it's just tiny. It's as big as the palm of your hand.
Yeah, they're great. I love them.
Is it made of plastic? Is it made of plastic or Bakelite or
no? It's just regular plastic. It's red. Oh. It's red and it's got a silver front.
Oh, that's right.
And I'd read once that they called them pocket radios, obviously because they're small enough to put in your shirt pocket. But what they would do in Wall Street and all these cities, the people working during the day in cities back in the time would put them in the pocket of their dress shirts with the earphone coming up, and they were listening to the stock reports and news and stuff during the day. That was the way they got the information back then.
When I was in the 7th grade, I took my radio to school one day. And so, but I hid it. And I was in class one day. I forget the teacher's name now, but I was in the back and I had it. I was listening to the radio. And she came over and took it away from me. And she says, "You'll get this when I want to give it back to you." And I thought, oh my God, she's going to steal my radio. But she gave it to me after class. She said, "Don't bring it to school anymore."
Well, they used to keep stuff until the end of the school year. And they'd keep it locked in their bottom drawer, and then you get the stuff back. I remember was one biology teacher of mine had a ton of stuff in his bottom drawer. It was always locked, and nobody could get their stuff back.
Well, she gave it back. She says, "Just don't bring it to school anymore." But she taught me a lesson. I didn't bring it to school anymore.
I bet you didn't.
That reminds me of Ralphie in Christmas Story. That she confiscates the fangs that they took with their
that's right.
And when she opens the drawer, there's 50 billion things in there from other kids. When she throws them in their drawer.
Can you imagine a kid today in school and the teacher taking something away? The outrage.
Their parents would come to school.
The parents would come to school and threaten to sue.
Oh, of course. And my wife's a school teacher. That's exactly how it is now. Yeah. In the old days, if we got called to the school.
I got paddled in school.
Right.
You know, and I got my hand with a ruler. Bang, 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 bang,
In the old days, if you were called to the principal's office and your parents were called to school in the days that we kind of grew up, we're all kind of the same era. You guys are a little older than me, but I'm a little older than Chance. But that's okay. He's the youngest one in the room. I wish I was. When we were called into school with our parents, in the old days, the parents would usually ask, what did my kid do wrong? Tell me, we'll take care of it. Now, my wife's a school teacher for Cobb County. When the parents get brought into school nowadays, the first question is, what did you do to my kid? It's a total different thing now.
It's crazy.
And that's bad.
You know, that's why kids are going to private school. There, a lot of kids' parents are just put them in private school.
Yeah, that's right.
If people want to give us a call, talk to PK or talk to any of us, or discuss
we don't have the graphics on the
early days, go ahead and tell them that the number
678-615-7560.
Repeat that.
678-615-7560.
It's right on the subject line of our video.
You would think that I would remember my own phone number.
Well, you would think so, but how often
guys,
do you use it?
I don't. I used to use a little notebook in my pocket because now it's all speed dial. I don't really remember numbers now.
I use my cell phone. I don't use this landline except for when we do the show.
I think I know my wife's number and I know her tag number for safety purposes if her car or she gets kidnapped or something. But that's the only thing that I remember, I do have a life insurance on her, so let you
I
know.
almost did a old spit take there.
Don't you spill that drink on my board there.
I plan to pour it all over your board.
I love the wall clock in here, Al, because that's almost just like the one I had in school. That is a school wall clock that I
That's an
remember
old
something
clock.
similar.
I've had that a long time.
Looks like my elementary school clock. It was great.
I've got a question for you, gentlemen.
Surprised it still works.
Who has watched the brand new Disney Plus show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I'll raise my hand. We're on camera, right? I can raise my hand. It's not just radio.
The camera's right over there.
Yes.
Al, did you see it yet?
Saw it yesterday. I saw it yesterday.
A friend of mine, actually, that you brought it up. You know, he's kind of a Marvel fan or whatever, and he watched it and he says, not impressed at all. He didn't like it. So
What did he watch?
Well, that's too bad. He didn't watch what we saw. I loved it.
His name is Carl.
That's okay.
I won't give his last name.
Is he a Marvel collector or
He's
fan?
a Star Trek fan.
Oh, well, there's the problem.
It's just like
Star Trek fans do not like.
I can't say because I haven't watched it.
We're not going to spoil anything. I'd like to just go around the room and ask what you thought. Is there anything that stood out without giving anything away in terms of a spoiler? How about with you, Barry?
Starting on this side of the room? Okay. Well, I am a Marvel fan I'm a comic reader from many years ago, and it's not just Marvel. I read DC Comics. I read horror comics. I read a lot of the Charleston Company Gold Key comics. I was just a comic book fan. So no one can pigeonhole me as just a Marvel zombie only, because I'm not. I loved WandaVision. I loved the show, and people that were not liking it first, I have to start out with it
I
this
don't
way.
get it.
They didn't like it at first.
You haven't seen it.
Just give me.
We watched 3 episodes.
That's not enough. Let Barry
It's
finish.
really not.
Right, it's like give it a while, because it's all gonna. It's a TV show, it's not a movie, so it's got to unfold in episodic form for you to see it. And I was hooked. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't get to watch them on Friday nights because I'm doing things on Friday nights. I have to watch them on Saturday. I thought the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was fantastic. The action, the looks of these shows. These shows do not look like television shows. They look like motion pictures because it's the same production folks with Marvel Cinematic Universe working on them.
What's the premise of the show? What?
Well, you saw Endgame. It picks
Right.
up where Endgame
Oh,
left
okay,
off.
okay,
Remember,
okay.
I don't want to give anything away for anyone out there who hasn't seen Endgame, but basically, remember the shield, the Captain America shield. The torch gets passed, or the shield gets passed, as it were. And it picks up pretty much from that moment in Endgame on.
Sam Wilson, the Falcon,
Right.
Steve wanted him to take over the mantle of the Captain America, which he did do in the comic book for quite a long time. And then you have Bucky Barnes, was Steve's buddy, the Winter Soldier, who's Bucky Barnes with the metal arm.
He was over 100 years old.
He's
he
an
was
old
in
guy,
suspended
trying
animation.
to
He
get
was frozen.
Trying to go out with a girl in this one. I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty funny. We told her how old he was. So,
yeah.
but I think it's another Marvel production that I think is top notch. It's great. I'm just now watching Game of Thrones, by the way. I've never seen the show before, and my wife and I are always late to the party. We were late seeing Game of Thrones. We were late watching The Sopranos. Everybody had already seen it. We were late watching Breaking Bad. We were just watching other things, and yeah, I don't like juggling 3 shows at
I'm
once.
just now watching Cheers.
You're just not watching Cheers. I hear it's a good show, but I
did watch Cheers back in the day.
I think The Winter Soldier is a fantastic production, and I'm in. I'm in. I love that. I love that world and that universe anyway. I love the Mandalorian that they're doing with Star Wars. It's just well produced, and I hear the Obi-Wan show they're doing with Ewan McGregor that's coming up on Disney Plus. They're spending as much money on it, and it's going to look just as epical as Game of Thrones. So that's going to be pretty big production too when it comes out. So I give Falcon and the Winter Soldier 2 thumbs way up so far, but it is only the first episode.
Well, that's
And
great.
it's great.
And I noticed kicking around Disney Plus, they've actually added the 1980 Spider-Man cartoons, like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
They have,
I
yes.
discovered it last night. I'm like, holy cow, this stuff has been in limbo in the vaults for since the original
And they've
airings
got-
in like
and
1981,
they have
82.
the original Muppet Show now too. They have all the Muppet shows.
Loving
now
that.
on there.
Loving the
so-
Muppet Show.
Yeah, it's a great channel.
It's like a big commercial for Disney Plus all of a sudden.
I don't like everything though, because there's some things. The 2 of my least favorite of the Marvel films are probably the second Thor film, Thor: The Dark World. But and
You're
the
not
Incredible
alone.
Hulk wasn't. It was good, but and Captain Marvel with Brie Larson, I didn't think it was okay. It was only okay, but. Even when Marvel is at their worst, they're still great movies. They still don't suck, though. It's the thing. They're still very well done entertainment.
They
They're
blow
well-
DC away
they're
every
very well
time.
done. Warner Brothers is in really. I don't know what Warner Brothers and DC are doing, because they're almost like when you ever been in a boat out on the river or whatever, and your rudder falls off, and you're like, oh, my boat's going like this. I don't know which way to go. I think they're a rudderless ship over at Warner Brothers. They have no idea what they're doing. It's crazy.
Now,
'cause
have you tried to watch the new Justice?
I have. I don't know if I'm going to. If when I do get around to watching it, it's going to be try to watch it. That's sure, because I know it's 4 hours long.
It's really
But
good, though, I
let me-
heard.
I'll give you a thing with that. That was problematic. That movie's a dead end now, because they're not going anywhere with any of the storyline from that film. It's all being redone and starting over again. So there's nowhere to go with it. nothing's going to be built on from that film.
I just predict, and I've said this before, I just predict Disney eventually will buy DC. And
Warner Brothers? Yeah. Wow, that'd be a monopoly, wouldn't it, Al?
I predict
if they own Warner and
if Warner Brothers wanted to sell.
Yeah, and I think they will, because there for a while Time Warner Media was buying up everything. And because Disney has kind of taken over the world of media, as far as I'm concerned, Warner may suffer and go, well, it's kind of a dying.
Well, I didn't like Disney buying.
We'll make some money.
I didn't like Disney buying 20th Century Fox, because now those movies, the older movies, you can't see. It's just like the Movies Channel, which is over-the-air broadcasting here in Atlanta, Channel 5.2. They used to have a ton of good Fox movies, but now Disney pulled them away. They're not showing any of those anymore.
Well, it's better than Comcast Universal buying Fox. And actually now you can have the Marvel Cinematic Universe unified, because X-Men and Fantastic Four are properties of Fox. Now it's all Disney, so there could be
Murdoch didn't have to sell Fox, but I guess he wanted the money.
But like you always say, it's his to do with as he pleases.
That's true.
Well, I'm convinced in 10 years Disney will own Nostalgic Podblast and WBHL in my station too. They'll own us too.
I predict to Tom's point though. I really see DC and Warner merging with Paramount and going on Paramount Plus. I can see that happening. But to your point, they're going to sell eventually to someone.
Yeah,
because I think they're in financial dire straits.
Doesn't Warner Brothers have their own streaming channel too?
Yeah, of course they do. Well, I
don't think so. Sure. Otherwise, Justice League would be on it, and it's on HBO Max.
Remember when they had the TV network, the WB?
Yeah.
And that kind of went away, didn't it?
It folded.
Really did.
Because it was in Atlanta on WB 36, remember?
The Frog Network, they had a little frog as their mascot.
Yeah. Could I say something about that, though, too, the streaming? Here's what I don't like about that. Because next week, at the end of this month, Godzilla vs. King Kong is coming out, a new Godzilla movie from Toho and Warner Brothers. I don't like movies being released in the theater and on HBO Max at the same time. I am very much against that. To me, they're cutting the throat of local theaters.
They really are.
By doing that. And it's not. I don't know. Throw COVID out of the equation.
Well, do you think that's going to last?
You just scored points with Al.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to last as long as they want. They're going to panic and keep it going. It's going to last as long as they want to do it.
Well, they did it because of COVID, but California and New York finally opened up their movie theaters.
Right.
And I was reading that AMC opened up all their theaters in LA, and a lot of theaters were just packed with customers.
And that's great. Yeah.
Because they just wanted to get out and do something. And
right.
It's easy for a family to go to a movie as opposed to it's expensive. But I like to go to movies like on Chance and I go on Tuesdays where it's only $5.
Well, for us, it's the experience. We love going to the theater. It's an event for us. It always has been for me. But if you're going to do it that way, release the theater first, then release it on your HBO Max a few months later and do it that way.
Well,
I wish they'd do it
but
that
the
way.
thing about it is, all right, you like Marvel movies, but isn't it better to see a Marvel movie on a big screen?
Sure, and that's where I see them,
with a Dolby Atmos sound than sitting at home watching on a 55-inch TV?
Certainly. Perfect. Yes, of course. And
but technology's caught up, though, to theaters, I'm afraid.
But theaters will never go away.
But they won't. No, I agree.
I hope not.
No one's saying they will go away. No.
But because of the streaming has become so popular, it's the old adage like, if you ever try to put toothpaste back in a toothpaste tube, you cannot do it.
Wait, streaming's not going to go away either.
They've opened up Pandora's box, so there's no going back because of HBO Max or whatever they're doing. There's no going back. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but I can't see them turning off that streaming.
Well, no, they're not going to turn it off. But Chance disagrees. But I don't see how Marvel can make their money back on multi-million-dollar movies just by streaming.
True, but my only point about that was just don't release them in both formats at the same time. Do it in the theater first and then stream it on HBO later.
When HBO first came around, it was just a movie channel. And they got the movies after they left the theater, even after they left the second run houses.
Yeah,
and then they ended up on HBO.
Yeah. And HBO was with Cinemax. It was their branch off one. It was Showtime and the movie channel were the other two.
Now, Showtime is my favorite. I love
Showtime was the movie channel. I love those two better.
Well, they have Showtime Extreme, Showtime Showcase, Showtime Next, Showtime Women, and then they have 1 and 2. So they run really good movies.
Yeah.
Well, we have a Facebook comment, gentlemen, defending DC. Jeff Logan says DC's Watchmen show was excellent.
Yeah.
That was another Zack Snyder
DVD,
film.
Remember?
There's another Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we watched it here.
And The Boys isn't bad. That's an Amazon property in terms of superhero stuff. But I digress.
The Boys is a good series on Amazon Prime, but it's where the superheroes have gone rogue. They go bad. They're bad.
And it's
Which
an
is
R-rated
another
production.
kind of a
It's
Watchmen
R-rated
thing.
because of the
Yeah.
language and the nudity.
And there's a spin-off coming.
There is?
Yeah. The Boys has a spin-off in the works.
Well,
Don't
anyway,
get me
getting-
wrong, yeah.
And get back to Falcon
getting
Winter
back to
Soldier, I
original-
never asked your opinion. I'm
Original
sorry.
question was, what was kind of like he gave it a two thumbs up. I give it 2 thumbs up as well. But my only regret to it is what Disney's doing with the streaming stuff. And maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. It's a good thing for Disney. It's a bad thing for the viewers who are used to binge watching. Okay, you got to wait till next week to see the other episode. So
And
they're
that kind of
forcing
reminded us the old way we used to watch television.
Correct.
And you know what that does for me, Tom? That when The Mandalorian came out and did that, that made me go, wow, doing it this way is making me long for the next one. I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
wait. It's anticipated.
Kind of like the
It's
old
great.
serials back in the old day.
Well, Batman was like that.
Yeah.
Batman.
I had to tell the cousins, hey, we had to wait several months before we
Yeah.
found out who shot JR, man.
That's true.
Back in the day, it
So
was really long.
I guess that's
cliffhangers.
a good thing.
Yeah.
But I like it. I
But I
saw
love the
it-
instant gratification of streaming back to back. I
yes.
do love that too. Yeah.
But I watched it literally Friday morning. It was released on Friday, so I watched it Friday morning before I went to work, and I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Now backtracking just a little bit to what you said, WandaVision is a different animal to the point to where I didn't like it at first either. I didn't like the second episode that much. I didn't like it, but I saw what they were doing. I saw what they were doing with the Brady Bunch set or the Bewitched set or whatever the case may be.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, but do you think a lot of new viewers will recognize that?
No.
The millennials?
No,
They won't recognize any of
When they
won't.
see all 9 chapters, they will.
Yeah.
If they have brain in their head.
Correct. But I enjoyed it because I stuck with it and watched it. Now, there are some shows who will go nameless where I'll watch it and go, I don't want to watch it. I had to force myself to watch Breaking Bad, but I had reasons for that. But it was well done.
Yes.
It was a very well done show. Whether you like it, its content or not, it was still well done. But the same with WandaVision, it was very well. It's hard for me to believe they shot it in Georgia or a lot of it. came in
Falcon and
Georgia.
Winter Soldier as well.
Yeah. And when you watch that, you go looking for stuff. But anyway,
Well,
there's another whole story about that, about how they treat the contractors, the crew. They bring them in from L.A. or New York. They don't really use that many Atlanta people. Anyway, we won't go into that.
Well, I mean, I like that series they shot here called Stranger Things.
Oh, sure.
Yes, which they're gearing up for the new season of that as
and
well.
That was
yeah.
filmed here in Atlanta.
I live Stranger Things. That's my wheelhouse. But I just want to say, to your point, Al, about movie theaters, and to Tom's point, look, for $9.99 a month or $14.95 a month, whatever it is for Disney Plus or Paramount Plus, you could get access to a whole library of entertainment for your whole family for less than the cost of one movie ticket in the theater, not including food and drink.
If you have a family and you can watch them, but I live alone except for my dog, and it's not worth $14.95 to me.
The only exception is the drive-in where you can get a whole car for $20 if you have a bunch of kids.
Well, that is true.
Like,
if you have a bunch
Sandy
of
Springs
kids.
Cinema Tap House, run by Bill Tush.
Can I mention a series I'm watching that I really do like on Showtime?
No.
City on the Hill with Kevin Bacon.
I said no.
I told you anyway. That is a great series, and the new season starts next week.
City on
the Hill.
Who's it got? Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
I don't like.
He's great.
I don't like
he's
Bacon.
great. He is great.
Bacon's.
Yeah,
I like
he's a
sausage
great
better than
actor.
bacon.
And he's come a long way since Footloose.
Yeah.
But,
It's come a long way since Footloose. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like Footloose.
Well, if you told me starring Nicolas Cage, I'm in.
He's
Kevin-
a B
I'm
actor.
Kevin was
Nicolas Cage
in
is a
the
B
original
actor.
Friday the 13th. Remember, he was in the first Friday the
yes, he
13th
was.
movie.
Yes, he
That's the
was.
first time I
He's
saw
great
him.
in
Yeah.
City on the Hill.
I loved him in Animal House. Yeah, from me, I have another.
Well, it's interesting how you said you can't put the genie back in the bottle when it comes to a lot of this in streaming. And I used to suffer from something many years ago. I diagnosed myself. I used to suffer from something that I used to call nostalgic depression, and it's a real thing with me. I don't know if it's a real thing clinically, but I would get sometimes 10, 15, 20, it was probably 20 years ago. I would long for the old days sometimes because the new stuff that was coming out I thought was crap so much that I would just become depressed that it wasn't 1976 anymore. It wasn't, things weren't the way they used to be, and I dealt with that and got a lot better with it. Now I made a radio show out of it, and that's my outlet. But I don't really have that problem anymore. But now I saw a quote once by Dr. Seuss, of all people. He's been in the news lately. Dr. Seuss, there's a quote by Dr. Seuss that I read that kind of clicked in my head, and I said, the quote is, and I'm paraphrasing, the quote is, don't cry because you remember it happening smile because it did happen.
Yeah.
And that's a very good way to live your life, and that helped me out a lot. And I live like that now. But you can't go back. I know people now that go, I refuse to watch things with CGI in it. I like the old blue screen effects the best, and I don't want to watch this because I don't want.
I like CGI.
I don't want to watch streaming things. I only want to go to the theater. I'm like, well, that's okay if you want to do that. Well, companies would do that. Kodak almost went out of business because they didn't go digital.
Oh yeah.
If you don't embrace the technology, and don't forget the old technology, it's still there. Don't forget it. But if there's a better way to do things, people are obviously going to do it if it's coming, and you can't fight it. You cannot fight it.
A lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people, a lot of film companies, they will shoot on film, but of course, release it in theaters and digital. So it just depends. Quentin Tarantino's that way, but he releases stuff.
But he chooses to do it.
He
that way.
chooses to do the film. So.
And a lot of effects people that do CGI and film will still, some of them have to build a 3D model for rendering and looking at the model of the spaceship or something. They'll still build the physical one to look at and then scan it into the computer to do it. So that technology is there. When Jurassic Park, when they were about to film Jurassic Park with Steven Spielberg, he brought the special effects guys, came in, and they're like, well, we've got demo reels for you for the effects. And Phil Tippett came in, Mr. Stop Motion guy who did The Empire Strikes Back, the Snow Walker scene, the Tauntauns. He was really big into that. And then you had these new CGI guys that were using computers, and they showed him their demo reel of these dinosaurs. And then Phil Tippett came in with his claymation Ray Harryhausen dinosaurs moving like they do in RoboCop 2 and The Empire Strikes Back. And Spielberg goes, I think we're going with the computer guys. And Phil Tippett went, I guess I'm out of a job. And he says, now Phil Tippett works in CGI. He just adapted to the times, and that's the way it is. You guys remember The Last Starfighter with Lance Henrik, with Lance Guest?
1983.
Nick Castle that played the Shape in for Carpenter in Halloween. Nick Castle turned into a director and directed The Last Starfighter. He directed Dennis the Menace and several other things. And he's a nice guy. And he said that the guys that did the effects, The Last Starfighter and Tron had some of those early computer effects in them back in the day. Even The Last Starfighter did, the spaceships. Did you know the guys did a demo reel for George Lucas and Star Wars, a CGI, a computer demo reel for him that looked very Last Starfighter-ish? And George, he said, I like that, but you're not quite there yet. We're going with the models. Maybe in 20 years you'll have this. And later on, they got it.
If you watch Tron today, it's really kind of like old school.
It's kind of 1982, isn't it?
It's like watching Pong.
Right.
A game of Pong.
But isn't it weird how Tron came out, flopped, didn't make a dime, but gained cult status over the years, and people loved it. Then they made a sequel to it, which flopped too. In a way, it didn't make much money because it only became popular because of cult status. Blade Runner, same way. It came out with Harrison Ford. It was a flop. Everybody expected Star Wars.
I hated that movie. I didn't understand it.
And then over the years, it became a cult status. Then they made a sequel to Blade Runner 2. So it's so weird how that happens, that people really don't get things until they watch them for 30 years. And they're like, oh, that is an interesting movie after all.
That's true, but the video game of Tron was excellent.
The video game was great.
Back in
much better than the movie,
Somebody's got a phone.
We have a comment on Facebook. Ted T.J. Edwards says, because Nick Cage isn't a chronic overactor.
Yes,
LOL.
I do. No, my son just says he has HBO Max.
Yeah. TJ,
Chris Williams.
Mention of TJ, he and I worked together at Kicks. He was a nighttime jock on Kicks.
Wow.
TJ.
Thanks for watching, Ted.
Now, you said Last Starfighter. What wasn't that Robert Preston's last movie?
He played Centauri in that. He was fantastic.
That was his last movie, though, right?
Was it his last one? I don't know if
I
did
thought
it
it
come
was.
after, or did that become before or after Victor Victoria?
That came out.
It was before.
So it must have been after, because Last Starfighter was 1984.
Yeah. And Victor Victoria,
83, I think.
I'm sorry, was a great movie too. Even though it wasn't sci-fi, it was a very interesting movie.
It was. It made you talking Victor Victoria?
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a musical Broadway play about it. Yeah,
Julie Andrews was great.
I was always a Blake Edwards fan too.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies was The Producers.
Yes, that
Gene Wilder.
was a very good movie. Very good, very excellent.
I have a 16mm print. It's kind of faded right now.
You're right, 1984, Last Starfighter.
For Last Starfighter. Okay, great music
I have it
score
on
too.
DVD also.
So effects and everything, things change.
Can I say something about that? I met Lance Guest a couple years ago at a pinball convention at the Cobb Galleria. It's called the Southern Fried Game Room Extra. They brought him in to talk about Last Starfighter.
Super nice
we
guy.
screened the movie, and then he did a Q&A before and after. It was great. Wow. And he looks the same.
And he was a little less hair now, but you're right.
He looks very youthful. And, I think one of his first movies was Halloween 2. He had a small role in the hospital.
The direct sequel
he was
to
taking
Halloween,
care of Jamie Lee Curtis's character in the hospital.
That's right.
Now, I wasn't listening a moment ago, but didn't you guys say that they were remaking Last Starfighter, or am I mistaken?
They
thought
are
I
currently
saw-
talking about it. It's going to be called Starfighter. I heard it's going to be called Starfighter, and the guy who owns the rights to The Last Starfighter has been sitting on it for years. They've been wanting to. And for me, every time I go, what movie deserves a sequel more than any movie in history? I'm like, well, The Last Starfighter. I mean, they just left it completely open, and it didn't do well. But I hear that they're talking about it right now. As far as it really been happening, I'm not sure.
All right, Robert Preston, though, his last movie was in 1986 called Outrage. And
so
he
it was
did
a couple years
Finnegan
after that.
Begin Again, a TV movie in 85, after Last Starfighter. So Last Starfighter was his third to last project.
Fantastic
I
talent.
guess the
He was
Music
great.
Man was his biggest.
It
claim
was
to
a
fame.
big, huge.
S.O.B., remember that one, that comedy?
Yeah.
Larry
Oh, yeah.
Hagman, a bunch.
Another Blake
Julie
Edwards
Andrews
movie,
was
yeah.
nude,
Blake
topless
Edwards,
in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was weird.
Robert
I didn't like
Preston was
that.
great.
I didn't like seeing her nude. I didn't like that. Anyway.
I can think of more people than Julie Andrews to see nude. Yes, you're right. That's great.
Well, it was luckily it was just from the waist up. Anyway, we digress.
Blake Andrews, because Blake Andrews directed it.
Blake Edwards.
Blake Edwards from Pink Panther.
and that's
Her husband.
That's her husband.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sorry, I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
Motormouth,
That's
I'll
right.
shut
Well,
up.
come on. If I was a director, I'd put my wife in a lot.
Well,
of
Blake
movies, too,
Edwards
so.
directed one of my absolute favorite Western movies. He didn't do Westerns very often.
No, he didn't. He didn't go.
There's
to
one called
Westerns
Wild
at all.
Rovers with William
yeah.
Holden and Ryan O'Neal.
And people forget about
Great
Wild
sound.
Rovers. They forget about that movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a great score by Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry Goldsmith, who happens to be my favorite motion picture composer of all
Even better
time.
than John Williams?
They run neck and neck for number one. I'm just more of a Goldsmith
But
guy.
I
But
think,
John Williams
but
is
I
great.
think Jerry Goldsmith has a wider range of movies. I mean, John Williams is great, but he seems to have done kind of one style movies. You know what I'm saying?
Later in the career, he did.
Right,
yeah, earlier
right,
he did a lot of different
but,
things.
But Jerry Goldsmith is really good. Another favorite composer, speaking of that, is Hans Zimmer. I like him too. He did the score for a movie I like called True Romance.
And he did Wonder Woman in 1984, most recently.
That's right. That's right.
The music's better than the movie.
Wow, that was the best thing about Wonder Woman. That's what I'm saying. Was the score. With no offense to Al, I was never a Hans Zimmer fan because to me, his music to me always seemed like it was just a backdrop, like jazz is playing in the background of a restaurant. I mean, he's a legend the way he is. But whenever I say, "Hey, whistle that Hans Zimmer tune," and like I can't ever remember a tune that he wrote.
It'll get dinged.
I've got a little clip to play if you don't mind. Am I potted up?
Wait a minute.
Okay.
Before you play
Okay. You go first.
His score to Backdraft was.
You go first, Al.
I'm sorry, James
But
Newton
I have
James Newton Howard.
the soundtrack to True Romance.
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah.
And but this song here is from the opening credits, and I'll play just a piece of it. But they use this song on commercials. I've heard it on.
We're gonna get dinged.
That's what I just said.
And we're not. I'm just gonna play just
Let's talk over it, Al.
We'll just talk over it.
You talk over it.
Yeah.
Talk.
It's a great
Talk.
score. Yeah.
Oh, I remember this music.
Remember this?
Oh yeah. Xylophones.
Yeah, xylophone.
Xylophones.
This is from True Romance, Hans Zimmer.
Yes.
But they
Yes,
use this
yes.
on a commercial. I saw it not long ago on television.
But that's not your that's not your usual Hans Zimmer sound though.
No,
I'm going by the music he did for Batman Begins and some of those other Christopher Nolan films.
There goes our monetization.
They're there, but they're just kind of in the background. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's
Cool.
That's
We
just-
get it. That's cool.
He's
I
an
just love
award-winning
that
legend
soundtrack.
though. That's
I've got a little clip for you, real quick.
All right, go ahead. Well, I'm waiting.
I'm
for-
learning the board here. All right.
It doesn't run more than a couple of minutes, does it?
No,
Usually
I wouldn't do that to you, but I hit the
Usually your
wrong
clips will
button.
go for like 5 and 6 minutes.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I had it queued up, and then I hit the wrong button.
Let's kill
All right,
the
here we
commercial.
Go. Here we go. All right. All right, we're ready. This is a little bit of the Last Starfighter trailer. Just a little bit, not the whole
Wait,
thing.
we don't want to hear
listen,
trailers.
Listen. It tells a story.
Come on, Alex,
Alex Rogan
It's good audio.
had a dream.
you really are leaving here, aren't you?
Kind of low volume.
That's Laurie Singer,
Far away from here as
the
possible.
Beastmaster sister.
You get your chance. When it comes, you gotta grab it with both hands.
Grab what with both hands?
Wait a minute, Laurie Singer's the Last Starfighter.
You
It's
got a
Kathy
candy
Mary
bar
Stewart.
for the rest of it?
Kathy Mary
you're right.
Stewart. Yeah, she's my wife.
Hey Tom, you got a candy bar for the rest of it?
But it wasn't
You got it all
just
over your
any
sweater.
game.
He gets sucked into a video game.
Great story.
And then one night,
It's what Chance and I wish would have happened to us in real life.
We have to talk about a matter of utmost importance. Step into my office.
That's Robert Preston.
That's the guy from Music Man.
You're the best, my boy. Light years ahead of the competition.
Al, who's this announcer for the trailer?
Alex didn't find his dream.
Okay.
Hey, look out! Oh, dear.
Do you know Tom?
Nope.
Is it over yet?
Almost.
Okay.
He just said the
His
S word.
dream
What?
found him.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's great.
I just wanted to play.
That
a
made
little
my
bit of
day.
that
It made the show. Well, we're done.
show. You see what I have to deal with here, Barry? I can't even play a gosh darn clip. It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
That made the show.
If I got in trouble playing clips on my show, I wouldn't have
We're
the show.
done.
I
'cause
know.
play them a lot.
God, guys,
Chan-
tough crowd.
Chance in The Last Starfighter, you know the little store there where he's playing the game and the trailer park. I got to go there in 2017. I went out there and found it on my tour of Hollywood, and I went out and found where it was, and I stood right in front of the store. It's
Tell
still
us where
there.
it is in Hollywood.
It's in Aqua Dulce or Acton, California. It's just northwest of LA. It's way up in the middle of the boonies up there. Wow. And it's a great little spot. The store is still open, by the way. Don't have a video game there, but there's no trailer park there. So.
Well, I can't believe I got it wrong about Laurie Singer. I was thinking of Night of the Comet, I think, is what she did. But they looked alike.
No, Catherine Marie Stewart was in Night of the Comet as well.
They just look alike to me. That's
do.
Mark Singer's
right.
sister, Laurie Singer.
They do look
She was
alike.
in Footloose, for goodness sakes.
Right.
That was her big movie.
Exactly.
All right.
I like Night of the Comet. That was about,
The Comet's great.
They were going, the
Underrated.
projectionists, they were going to loan the film out. He was waiting all night long for them to bring the film back.
It seemed like there for a while. I must have had 3 35mm.
I had a
prints
print
that
of it,
movie.
too.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
Yeah. And so that was a good movie, though.
I'll tell you guys about what I did in 2017. I'd always wanted to go to Hollywood. I had never been out there, and I'm like, well, I grew up seeing
I've
these
been one
things.
time.
2017, my wife finally went out there. My wife's one of her best friends that she went to college with is personal manager and assistant to Jane Seymour. Wow. So I got to go out and hang out in a lot of places and see a lot of people out there in 2017. We went to that spot. I went to see the, when they filmed the exteriors of Lamont driving the truck in Sanford & Son and the title sequence of Sanford & Son. That's a plumbing store. That's a plumbing business now. I went there, found out where it was. I went to Fox Plaza, the building from Die Hard that Bruce Willis is in. It's Fox Plaza right there in L.A. Very small when you see it in real life. You're like, this looks huge on the film, but it's not really that big. Got to go there. I went to the Vasquez Rocks where Kurt fought the Gorn in Star Trek and every Western in Hollywood filmed out there on those rocks out there and everything. It was fun being out there on that place, but it was a real kick to be. I went to Franklin Canyon Reservoir where the water is that stood in for the lake and Andy Griffith show all the time. Every time they had a lake episode in the title sequence, they filmed it, him and Opie walking right there in front of the lake, and I walked the same steps and checked it out there. It was so great seeing all those things out in Hollywood after so many years, watching them grow up.
It's kind of like the first time I went to the Grand Canyon in Arizona, because I like Westerns.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing where they shot a lot of Westerns and stuff.
And noticing the rock formations in the background.
And then, there was one famous rock formation that they filmed there, and I can't. That Howard Hawks or
There's John Ford.
John Ford.
Probably was one of the guys. Yeah, one of those
John
two.
Ford, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you walked the same path as Andy Griffith and Opie, did you whistle?
Did you whistle?
I did, and I have it on video. I whistled it. My wife shooting it on the phone, and I'm whistling off camera as I walk into frame.
Can you give us a whistle?
The Andy Griffith show?
No,
Probably
don't.
No, I can't.
Put him on the spot.
But we did.
We'd get dinged for that.
Yes, you would.
Oh my God!
Even whistling it?
I could sing a Beatles song though.
Wow.
Yes, you would.
Wow.
That matter of fact,
It was an awesome experience seeing all that stuff. I went to the Paramount Ranch. I got to see where Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, where Jane Seymour was in that show. We got a tour of that. We got to see all these areas. I'm like, oh,
I don't think
goodness.
it's there anymore.
We
The
went
ranch
to no,
is gone.
it's not. It was
Well,
burned.
how about the Columbia Ranch, where they shot a lot of B westerns?
That's definitely.
I didn't get to go there. I went to
the Columbia Ranch.
Malibu Creek State Park, where all the exteriors for MASH were filmed when they had the helicopters and all the outside shots of MASH.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
There's still a Jeep out there a mobile Jeep sitting there that's rusting away. Yeah, and you look around out there and you see the mountains in the background. You're like, there's where the helicopter comes in on the title sequence. Right there, you can tell. And while we were there, I'm up there walking around shooting videos. I'm like, I can't believe we're on the set of MASH. This is great. And my wife, Stacy, she goes, hey, listen, do you hear that? And we hear... I said, you got to be kidding me. There's a helicopter right now flying over. It was the sheriff's department, just flying in the area. And I'm like, how? And Stacy yells, choppers. And it was perfect. It was great. And I got it all on video. It was a great trip, and I documented it all.
I'm very impressed. He sounded just like a chopper.
He
just
does.
now.
Hey, do that again, will you?
I can't. I can only do it once.
Okay.
Sorry.
Because if we ask him to do it again, you gotta get paid. You gotta get money for it.
That's a Bell Ranger. I can do the other type of chopper too.
Now,
I can do
when
the
Tom
other.
used to go to California Live, when he did some freelance work, Tom always liked to go to the grave sites of these famous people.
Oh,
I can tell you where they're all at.
Something special. Yeah.
What about Hollywood Boulevard? You see all the stars?
Oh, yeah.
I walked it.
I did. I've
The
done
Walk of Fame. I did all the stupid
I've-
tourist
Capitol
stuff.
Records
yeah.
building, all that.
I've been to Capitol Records and the Walk of Fame. I've done all
Out
that.
in front of City Hall, where this is the city, Los Angeles, California. I saw Sergeant Friday's office up there out on the street. It was great. It was fantastic.
I wanted to find out where Colt Seavers lived. Nobody's going to care about this, but I love that silly show, The Fall Guy, 5 seasons, and he has a little house like in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't realize that's probably like a set. I thought it was, but they do have some external shots that look like, okay, there's a shack in the Hollywood Hills. It's probably long since torn down.
Right.
But when I went out there in 2002 and 2007, I tried to find it, not successful.
Oh, you were out there in 06 and 07. We were at the Brady. We were at the Brady Bunch.
I said 06. I meant 2002, 2007.
We were at the Brady Bunch house on Clinton Avenue out there near where their house was out there before they did the redo of it on HGTV.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were out there checking out the Brady Bunch house, and I'm like, there it is. It looks so much smaller though.
It is.
When you
The
see
only
it as an
famous
adult.
set that I saw when I went to Hollywood was the Bonanza set.
Oh,
Cool.
wow. That's great.
Yeah, I
Bonanza
went on
set,
the
yeah.
Bonanza set.
That's
Yeah,
great. We were talking about Gunsmoke last week, and it was the anniversary of Gunsmoke, and I told my co-host Alan, I said he could not believe how long Gunsmoke ran on television. Oh, no,
You had a quiz.
We were doing an MTV,
It was 20-some years, wasn't it?
MTV quiz. Was this show on in the 70s? And I give him a show title, and you got to tell me.
Do you
was it
remember
on in
any
the
of those
70s?
questions to ask these guys? They'll ace it.
Oh, it was. Well, the question was, did Gunsmoke run in the 70s? And
Right.
Alan said no. He thought it ended in the 60s. I said, no,
No,
Bonanza
75.
started in the 50s and ran till 75. And
Yes.
that was the longest running Western ever, I think.
I have
Well,
one
let's-
episode on film.
Let's quiz these guys. I
Gunsmoke
remember
was
some of the questions, okay? The Big Valley, was that on in the 70s? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
No. 1969 is when it ended.
1969. About right.
Ah.
Some of them are on the cusp of the
On
end
the
of the
cusp,
year,
right.
though. That's the
So-
thing.
But I like the Big Valley. I love their theme song.
Oh, yeah.
But see,
What was that production company? What?
4-Star.
4-Star.
But they went in the other direction with some of them. Was Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, was it on in the 70s or not? Yes or no?
Yes, 79.
Yes, started in 79. Started out as a motion picture.
Ended in
the
81.
theater.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got something for you, by the way. On your last show you did, which is on, by the way, this is Barry King, host of BK on the Air and WBHF FM and AM in the Georgia
I'm
area.
not used to being on camera. It's funny.
He has a live show with his co-host Alan Sanders, 10 a.m. to noon. And in his last live show yesterday, as we do this live,
We call Alan a helper. If you say co-host, he gets a big head. don't do that.
Plus you
It's
gotta
like
pay
a
him-
pear shaped
Plus you got to pay him
upside
extra money.
Well,
You're both great.
Well,
You're both
we
great.
just call Chance a nuisance.
well, that's true.
Just like
Thorn in our side.
Put the disclaimer up. So you said
You'll have to do a correction on that one.
Alan mentioned.
I just had to say that.
Alan mentioned Capri Sun drinks, and you said,
That's
I've
right.
never tried one. I brought one for you. Here's a fruit punch. While it's still cold,
It's
I want to
gonna
do this
happen.
before it gets warm.
That's-
Would you pass that over
That's
to Barry,
awesome.
please?
I'm gonna
Here's
get
a
to
fruit
drink
punch Capri Sun.
Wow, look at that. Tom's real. It's
I have an extra
Careful.
Capri Sun.
I'm being
Who
very
wants
one
it?
for everybody?
Who wants it? Who wants it?
I
All right,
do.
well, you got your hand
He's
out.
got a drink. Look at that.
Okay, well, then you can have it. And you have to puncture it. You take the straw,
I'm around broadcast
and you
equipment,
have
so
to
I'm kind of
stab
nervous
it.
here.
There's a little hole at the top, and you have
Well,
to
how do you
stab
get
the hole. Well, just remove the straw.
you
And
just
now
rip
you
it
know
out?
how to remove a straw from plastic, Al.
Let me see.
Do you just pull it straight
have
up and it
manual
comes out? Do
dexterity.
you pull it straight up, Chance?
Yeah,
Does
you
it
just
come up?
pull. You rip it off. Actually, rip the straw.
Oh,
there
rip
you
it off.
go.
Okay, there it went. Okay.
Uh-oh, see, he's already flunked. It hit the ground.
Well, hell, I
Now-
can't get it open.
Okay, use your teeth. There you go. And then you stab it with the sharp end into
see.
the top of the Capri Sun pouch.
Oh, I see. Okay, there we go. You right here with the hole.
And it's delicious. And Alan was right. He said you could put it in a lunchbox. And when we were kids, little nostalgia for you.
God, you don't have me up again because I'm playing a drum roll and there's not.
I hear you.
I'm not playing.
Well, I turned it down.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go.
Capri Sun, first time in my life. Here we
Here
go.
it goes.
He's sipping. He's sipping.
And
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's good. It's good
It's
stuff.
fantastic.
so the
It's
sharp
fruit
end go-
punch.
The sharp, hey, Chance, the sharp end goes right there.
Yes.
Go ahead, Al.
Yes.
We're waiting. The drummer can only play this role for so long.
Al, have you had one? Is this first time?
First time.
First
All right,
time.
two first
Here it
time.
comes.
We're Capri Sun virgins.
Oh, well, he must
good.
like it. You like it?
Yeah.
You know, I think the only reason you like it is because it's free.
That is one good reason, yeah. You know what that
bit of a
reminds me of, though? It reminds me of Hawaiian Punch.
Oh, it's mono. Forget. I was going to play a little bit of a Capri Sun commercial, but forget it.
Hawaiian. How about a nice Hawaiian punch? Sure.
It is Hawaiian punch. It's basically Hawaiian punch. But I like the consistency of it. I like how you have to stab the pouch with the thing. It's a good little refreshing drink.
They sell these in the theater, you know. Some theaters do, not all of them.
Well, when I heard you never had one, I happened to have like a 10-pack sealed, that I bought at Publix a month ago, and I'm like, I'm going to throw this in the fridge. You buy these
on a regular basis?
They're expired.
No, I bought them because it was a BOGO, buy one, get one free at Publix, so I bought one. I'm like, I haven't had a Capri Sun since I was a kid. I'm going to buy this 10-pack, and that's what I did a month ago.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Classic.
You taste 7 kinds of fruit in Hawaiian punch. 7 kinds of fruit in Hawaiian punch.
Oh, that might get dinged too. Who knows?
Chance, you're a gentleman and a scholar and a great judge of poor whiskey. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
That is fantastic.
Good. Well, now you can say you've had a Capri Sun.
Well, so you may have a Capri Sun, but have you ever had a juice box? One of those juice boxes you got put?
No, I've never had those either. Those came along back when I was like older. I guess I was in high school, and I didn't drink those. That's like the Transformers. A lot of guys I know love Transformers, and I'm like, well, when the Transformers came along, I was already out of toys, so I didn't really get into those. So it was like later.
Well, see,
on.
I got a fancy juice box thing that's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the front that my son used to use, and you would take the juice box and you literally push it up into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles container, and it would automatically punch the hole, and you just there you go, and it worked really, really well. I still have it, Chris. If you want that, I have it. If you're listening, if my son is
if
listening.
he's watching, I remember when Chris was about that high.
Yeah,
he was, and now Chris is.
It's tall.
He's tall.
And Tom did a reality show with his son on Lifetime.
Yes.
Not Bridezilla, but it was like, the premise was this couple's getting together and the in-laws don't get along, or the in-laws are opposed to the marriage for whatever reason. Anyway, do you remember the name of it?
No.
I don't remember it either.
No.
Shouldn't have brought it up. But I thought it was cool you did that with your son. I mean, and you were on it a lot.
I'm on it a lot, but I could have been on it a lot more if I'd have been more controversial.
That's true.
Shall we say?
Yeah, you don't like controversy.
You just made it up.
Well, yeah, it's true. I could have.
Like most of them do.
I did.
Exactly.
We appeared on Jimmy Kimmel while we were out on Hollywood on the tour in 2017.
Oh.
He was on Hollywood Boulevard while we were looking at the stars, and they were asking people on the street to name Beyonce's new kid that they had with Jay-Z, come up with a weird name, and I got like Optimus Prime or something like that. That's what I came up with. And but Stacey and I both got on the Jimmy Kimmel show that night, and we do that because people were telling us, "You're on Jimmy Kimmel," because we're out in Hollywood and everybody else is 4 hours ahead of us on the East Coast. Right. So we're like, oh, what? We're on what? Because we knew they were interviewing people we didn't know they were going to put on the air. So the clip is on YouTube of my wife and I on the Jimmy Kimmel show as the man on the street interviews.
Did he give you a T-shirt or anything? I mean,
we got nothing. Nothing at all. Just the glory of being on there.
Do you think he's talented?
No.
I was on the Johnny Carson show. And
you were on the Tonight Show? Tell us about that. What happened? When was that?
Well, when I went to California, me and a buddy, we went out there. This is back in the early 70s.
You don't mean in the chair. You mean in the audience.
The audience. No,
okay,
I wasn't on the show. But I went and saw the Hollywood Squares. I saw a taping of 5 shows. They do 5 shows in one day.
Love the Hollywood Squares.
And so it's so funny because, they had... I used to think they had the square with all of them, up 3 levels. I used to think that they kind of superimposed them, but it's actually...
No, it's a huge thing. It looks like it's going to fall.
Up the steps, But what's cool, it was in the summertime, and the guys on the show and stuff upstairs, they just had shorts on it and a coat and a tie, and so they would take a 15-minute break between shows, and they had a guy come out there and warm up the audience and tell jokes and stuff, But it was great, and of course you had the big applause sign.
Isn't it interesting seeing that set from behind, all the lights?
Yeah, but it's a very simple set. I mean, they just rolled it out. I mean, it was just like where Peter Marshall was. It was just they rolled it out,
all stacked up like 9 squares.
It was really that big.
It was that big.
As it looked on screen. It was that big.
I've seen a photo on social media of it from behind. It's interesting. The way it's lit,
and they had these big blue lights, and they had this white wall behind them, and the blue light shined up on the white wall to give it that blue background.
And speaking of Hollywood Squares, I mean, that's interesting. We had a little debate at lunch. Al doesn't believe me, but game show people comment or call us.
I love the Hollywood Square, but you can't find it anywhere.
You can't. MGM, I've read online from multiple sources that Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer somehow owns the rights to the Hollywood Squares, and they're just keeping it shelved. And I don't know why. I'd like to see it on Buzzer or Game Show.
MGM has a movie channel. Why can't they let that be on that or something?
They should. They should.
I think it's too controversial, the type of things they talked about and joked about. would be.
That's a good point.
Looked
Yeah, but
down.
That's a good point.
But look at
I
Match
didn't think
Game.
about that.
Well,
and
match
stuff
match
like
game was
that.
about as bad as that.
Match
Yeah,
Game was
they
bad
show
too.
it
Look
too,
at Charles
so.
Nelson Riley. I mean, some of the things he carried. You know,
They
he
just
did.
haven't gotten around to it yet.
I was many years old till when I found out, and I did not know this till much later in my life. Talking about Hollywood Squares, I didn't know that the panelists knew the answers to the questions. I didn't know that, but
they briefed
They
them.
did. But they and for the most part they knew, and they could give them a right answer or a wrong answer, but they never. But never with Paul Lynn. Paul Lynn was always just always ad-libbing all the time.
There's a list
which is great.
on Facebook of nothing but Paul Lynn responses, and
he was
freaking
funny.
hilarious.
I told Al about the book at lunch we had today called the original Hollywood Square by Peter Marshall. Great
Right.
book. The book, when you buy the book, it comes with a CD of Paul Lynn zingers on
Really?
CD. So, but I got to give it to you and let you read it because it's a
I'd
great
love to
read.
read
You
that.
can even-
I would love that.
It's a great book. Yeah.
And
Great show.
I'm actually really good friends with Laurie Marshall, his wife. We're Facebook friends. and stuff
Peter's
like that.
wife?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're Facebook friends.
Peter seems like a very nice guy.
But you know,
too.
Peter and I worked together when I was on Music of Your Life because he did a show on that, and that's how I. Really
Explain
got
what
to
Music
know
of Your
him.
Life is. That's your radio station, right?
No, music
Or-
is a network that feeds.
That's right.
It's like a Westwood One thing. It feeds radio stations across the country.
Westwood One, which Cumulus Media owns. Yes.
Yes. So.
For the layman out there.
But no, I just Paul Lynn was great, and Charlie Weaver was there. Paul Lynn was there. All the good people were there. When I went
Wally
to the
Cox
show.
was
Wally Cox.
he was a tragic.
You know,
happened
sadly,
to him.
he killed himself.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't know this, but
Voice of Underdog.
he was really
Wally
good
Cox.
friends
with Marlon
Brando.
Yeah.
And Marlon Brando kept his ashes
Yes, he
for
did.
years.
Yeah.
I don't know what he ever did with his ashes.
They were good friends.
wow.
They,
They
were
were very
very
good
good
friends.
buddies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's an odd couple.
But you know,
of friendship.
I just like you know. I don't think Marlon Brando was like he was in the movies. I think he was completely different when he was not, in his personal life.
It looks like he was extremely eccentric individual too. He really was.
He liked butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to play something in the background. While we're talking game shows, I do have a comparison I want to run off of all you guys. Have you guys seen the new Price is Right with Drew Carey lately?
No.
Not
It's
lately.
probably
but
not your bag because you have lives and you work.
No,
Yeah.
not
I've seen
lately.
it though.
I DVR it because our friend Leonard Jackson, who was our guest in our last Podblast, was a contestant on there. So I started watching the new ones. It's so bad. I wouldn't say this on the show that Leonard was on, but it's so bad because A, they don't have an audience. They don't have an audience anymore because of COVID.
But when are they going to bring audiences back? I mean, it's just, how do they do that? Like when you watch
I'm
Jeopardy
watching.
or Wheel of Fortune, they have the audience sounds, but it's got to
It's canned laughter.
It's got to
Yes,
be
what they got,
strange
yeah.
on the set though, but nobody's out in the audience. I guess they have the lights
and
turned
and
down.
the timing's got to be different. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's totally different.
So, all right, here's the thing. I love Drew Carey as a comedian and as a personality, but I don't think he's good compared to Bob Barker because I've been watching on Roku, on Pluto TV.
Pluto TV, the Bob Barker era.
Through
Yeah,
Roku, they
Price is
just
Right.
announced it started running in December. The Bob Barker Classic Price is Right episodes haven't aired since the original airing over 40 years ago, and they're fantastic. And we did a game
great.
show Podblast, our second one, and I said Richard Dawson's my favorite host. I want to amend that. It's Bob Barker. He is the
He was
best,
great.
smoothest MC. The other thing I don't like about the new version, because there's no audience, there's no energy, they have this canned laugh track and a terrible boo. When someone spins the bonus wheel and it doesn't go all the way around, they're supposed to get booed. And they have this terrible, like, boo. It's so obvious it's phony, and it just, it's
I used,
so
to,
bad.
I used to love to see the original Prices Right when they spin the wheel and some fat broad would be out there
and they fall.
and say fall down.
You got a Main Street.
That was funny. Was just like they would fall
Did
down.
Al say broad? Okay.
Yeah, he did.
Good.
He did.
I thought I was the only one that left it. Used
You
that
know,
term.
you know what? You know what? You just got canceled. Kill your mom.
Chick. That
I
chick.
didn't mean
that broad.
anything.
Now,
by
the
it.
other thing is, I know some will
It's
disagree.
a term of endearment.
In the new Price is Right, they have guy models. I mean,
Oh, I
I
didn't
know,
know
I know.
that.
There's
I
probably
didn't- I
what's
didn't
wrong
know
with that?
there's probably a lot of housewives at home that want some eye candy as well. But I'm
I
just used
didn't
to
know
having
that.
Barker's beauties. Yeah, they have a dude from Australia, and he looks like some sort of dope smoking hippie type. I mean, he's just not very good.
So you said he looks like a dope smoking dude from Australia. Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you mean?
No,
Wow.
no, but his hair's unkept. It's like it
Oh,
looks
wow.
dirty and
My
greasy.
hair's
surfer.
unkept.
Well, you're not on TV.
He's a
You're not
surfer.
on national TV.
Yeah, but look at what was the
he's
prime
on the
minister
webcam.
prime minister of
Britain. Great Britain.
Great Britain. Look at his hair.
Well, I just I don't like that they have guy models.
I
It
don't
should
like
be
it
all
either.
women.
And I don't like the whole Hooters thing, Hooter waitress thing that happened. I don't want to see guys at Hooters either. I'm just the old way. I'm sorry. I'm nostalgic.
And the other thing is,
Sorry. I'm not making any apologies.
I will
Sorry.
obviously never be a contestant on The New Price is Right, but the announcer's bad. And the dumb thing is, they're so cheap. Like when they announce a trip, they go, breakfast is included. Like that's a big deal. A continental breakfast. I mean, they never did that back in the day. And what about lunch and dinner? It just seems so cheap, and his voice is so annoying. Whoever that
it's not
announcer
Rod
is,
Rowdy. It's,
there will never be another Johnny Olson.
Johnny Olson was
Speaking
bad.
of that, who do you think it had the best announcer voice for game shows or movies or?
Well, that's a tough. That's
Paul
tough.
Freese. Paul Freese.
Paul Freese.
You have a clip you can pull up? Because I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll recognize
pull
it.
it up,
Okay, pull
Paul Freese was my Spider-Man. Paul Freese was amazing on this.
I probably know the voice, but it's not ringing any bells with
He
the
did a
name.
lot of Disney stuff.
Yeah, Paul Freese is
Answer your question, Johnny Olson. I said in our previous
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
pod blast that it was Gene Wood, but I want to amend that as well because Johnny Olson just
But Johnny
did
Olson's
so much
about
great work.
95 now, isn't he?
He died in 1985.
No, he passed away.
I
No,
guess-
Johnny Olson would be my favorite.
Rod Roddy replaced him.
And what's the guy that's on Jeopardy now? He's pretty old too.
In doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls.
Is that the Disney
Whenever
haunted house?
candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still.
Recognize his voice?
That is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their
I recognize it.
terror
I know
with
Al knows who he is.
ghoulish delight.
That is the
You
best.
don't recognize his voice?
No.
You don't?
Oh, wow.
I thought you had the
did a lot
record.
of stuff. He did a lot of stuff.
He was the best.
I've got a CD with that voice on it, but I don't.
Yeah, he also did an OTR radio series called the Green Llama, where he played a Green Hornet type of character.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I heard that this morning on the way here.
What's his name?
Paul Freese.
Paul Freese.
F-R-E-E-S.
F-R-E-E-S. Paul.
I used to like
Freese.
the guy that voiced the Disney trailers from Walt Disney. You know what was that? He was great.
And did he do the Wonderful World of Disney also? The
Yes,
TV?
Yeah. He had a great voice.
Yeah.
Tom,
But
you
he-
got a clip of that?
But he voiced all the Disney trailers.
Wonderful World of Disney. I can look that up.
Yeah. The voice of Wonderful World of Disney. He was really good. I liked him a lot.
Listen to this.
That's-
Banging on my
To
computer.
answer your question, if it means game shows and voices, I would have to go with Johnny Olson because Johnny Olson was the announcer for Jackie Gleason's show when he moved to Miami. He was even on there from Miami Beach.
Oh,
It's the Jackie Gleason show, and he was just you knew as a kid.
The American Scene magazine.
Oh yeah, he was the first voice as a kid. I was proud of myself when I was a kid because I started recognizing voices. I'm like, wait, I know who that is. I'm a kid. I'm not supposed to know things like this. And it was nice.
But
to
you know those
that
voice guys make a lot of money.
Well, they do. On a national level, they do.
And I have a correction. I misspoke, Tom. I said Paul Freese did Spider-Man. I'm thinking of Paul Soles.
Okay.
Paul Soles was an animated voice, and he did Spider-Man and a lot of other cartoon characters and stuff. But Freese is great.
Here's the opening to the Wonderful
There's
World
no
of
wrong answer to that.
Here's the opening of Wonderful World of Disney 1975. Let's hear this voice work.
Everything but the audio.
No, he didn't announce it in the front like that. It was just the music. No, it's just the music.
Didn't
Well,
Paul?
where can I hear his?
Didn't Paul do
I'll say
Rocky
no.
and Bullwinkle?
Well, no, you can just pull up. All right, I
think he did
what do I
some
look
Rocky
up?
and Bullwinkle.
No, just pull up a Disney trailer. Just type in Snowball Express.
Okay,
You know,
that's a good one.
You know, he.
Snowball
You ever seen
Express.
that?
I saw it in the theater. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Snowball Express. Man.
With Dean Jones, right?
Dean Jones is there.
Yeah, Dean
I have a
Jones,
poster
yeah,
for it. You want
yeah.
to buy it?
Great.
Yeah, I'll give you $2.
No, but my birthday's in February.
Snowball.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Hey, folks, I got a lot of Disney posters. I just sold one for the Aristocats. It's a product of the cancel culture.
I can't find that trailer. You got another one he might have voiced? A Disney movie? But the Rescuers? Would he have done that one? Or Jungle Book? Jungle Book?
I'm sure.
Let's move on.
No, I want to hear it.
Yeah, we can move on.
Hold on, I'll get it. I'm working on this. Jungle Book trailer.
Well, you know, the time it's going to take you to find it.
I think I just found it.
Yeah, you think, but it's probably...
It's all the new one.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was the voice of Boris Badenoff in Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's what Paul.
Well, I love Rocky and Bullwinkle.
He did the voice of
You
Boris.
know, Boris and Natasha were my favorite.
Weren't they? And
No, they were
I
my
liked
favorite.
Natasha as a kid. I don't know why, but now I know.
Yeah.
I figured it out later when I liked her. It's like when my dad watched the Benny Hill show.
I got it.
Everett Horton. I think
Fractured Fairy Tales. He did the Fractured Fairy Tales. Yes, he was really good.
Guys, here's the trailer for The Rescuers. Let's give this one more
try. We're not going to play all of it now.
No,
just
no,
to
no.
Hear his voice.
No, listen. With my luck, there'll be like no announcement.
After 4 years in production.
That's Dick Tufeld, the robot lost in space. That's Dick Tufeld.
Yes, it is.
The Rescuers.
Yeah, that's
all right. That's not the same guy. Anyway, we'll move on. I can't find
let's
it.
move on. Yeah, if anybody out there knows what it is, then give us a call at.
I mean, I don't really care, but I just his voice just stood out for me, because I used to go to a lot of movies and see the trailer.
The phone number is 678-615-7560. That's 678-615-7560.
Have you guys ever seen the clip on YouTube where all the movie trailer guys are going to the award show and they get in the limo together?
Yes.
And I always forget, and you may not remember this, Chance, but you'll know who I'm talking about. The Nick Tate, who played Alan Carter on Space 1999, the Australian guy.
Yes.
He was one of those guys. He did Jurassic Park. He was one of the guys that did a lot of those trailer voiceovers. Was Nick Tate?
I didn't know that.
What was the guy that did a lot of the trailers in the 80s and 90s? He's passed away, but he was on all the movie trailers.
I know the one you're talking about.
I'll get it.
Did Bill Cullen do a few? The guy that does the Optimus Prime voice in with Transformers. Was he one of them? I knew he might have been one of them. He had that voice. They were such great.
But this guy,
voices.
he did the movie trailers. He would have a limo going from studio to studio voicing stuff.
Yeah, and he did a Geico ad too. Geico TV.
He passed away. He's not. Some time ago. But
yeah, that's true.
In a world.
This is the trailer that you were just talking about moments ago. So this is just the audio.
Here they go.
It's got 007 music to it. I'm not sure quite why it's got 007 music.
Tonight. That's right.
It's one of the announcers.
Where the success of an industry depends upon the creative ability of a few. Greatness must be recognized. The 26th Annual Hollywood Reporter Key Art Awards.
Shall I head directly to the DGA?
No, not yet. First, we have to assemble our team.
Our team?
Imagine 5 of the top voiceover artists in our country.
What a job, Dad.
Mine.
Here comes the second one.
John Leader.
A simple man in a complicated world. But tonight, for one heart-stopping moment, quite possibly, a hero.
Great commercial. I mean, great little piece.
There he is. There's Alan from Space 1999.
Now that's a knife. Nick Tate. A voice. 65 million years in the making. Ominous. Mysterious. Hung like a horse.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
17 not admitted without parent.
Well, are we prepared to move on to the ceremony?
Prepared? Nothing could ever prepare you for what awaits you at the ceremony. Meet Mark Elliott.
The cherished voice of the most beloved animated classics of our time. Featuring all your favorite Disney characters. Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Timon, Pumbaa, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, that's enough. That's funny.
That's great.
That's very
I
funny.
How do you find that on Facebook? Because I can't see from back here.
YouTube. It's on YouTube.
I mean YouTube.
Well, just type in announcers ride in limo.
Oh, okay.
Five Guys in a Limo is the title.
Yeah.
5 Guys in a Limo. Look that up. I did not know that about Nick Tate doing voice
good
work.
old Alan Carter from Australia.
He sounds like Paul Hogan, and that was the
He
point.
kind of does, yeah.
Now that's a knife, like from what was that
Crocodile
movie?
Dundee.
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
I got one little quick clip because we're running out of time. Listen, of this announcer. Here we go. I got it. There's no ad. Listen to this voice work. I have this on 16mm film, by the way. This trailer for Starship Troopers, 1997.
Using music from the Phantom.
Worth fighting for. But in the future, the greatest threat to our survival will not be man at all.
It'll be giant insects. Okay, that's enough. I just wanted to hear his voice.
I like Starship Troopers. I thought it was fun.
Kill them all!
I thought Starship Troopers was one of the best World War II films I've ever seen. It really was. That's what it was. That music playing in that trailer was by David Newman. It was the score to The Phantom. Many times
From
when they
Short People, that David
No,
Newman?
no, his brother.
I love L.A.
It's his brother.
Kidding. I know.
He's short too, though.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when they do trailers to the films, you guys know they don't have the score of the film done yet. They have to use another track. That's from The Phantom. It's a great soundtrack. I recognize it's not Starship because Basil Parduris did the music to Starship Troopers, the guy that did RoboCop. So, yeah. See, that's the kind of crap I.
And that director, that's the director of Showgirls, by the way, Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven, yeah.
And he's always got unfortunately, always has a rape scene in
his movies. His movies are porn even without sex.
You know, RoboCop was shot here in Atlanta.
RoboCop 3 was. Yeah, because I'm in RoboCop 3.
Yeah.
What?
I'm in it.
I ran dailies
Whoa.
I ran dailies
You
for
did?
it. Yeah.
You guys worked on the same movie?
Well,
talk about
I was on the set. I was one of the the rehab agents that wore the armor and the helmets.
Right.
We shot on Pryor Street in Atlanta, and they needed some people to be rehab agents, and I was actually in RoboCop 3 doing that. That's the movie that bankrupted Orion, and they went out of business.
I never went on the set because I just went there at night when they ran dailies.
Right.
I never went on the set.
Yeah, it was. It took a year or two for it to come out, even after they filmed it. It was.
I heard they wouldn't.
Al, will you explain what dailies are? We've mentioned it before in previous shows, but it's just what are dailies?
Dailies are the film. Where the director and if the actors want to show up or whatever, they watch the film of the previous day's shoot. See, they would send the film to the lab, and they had a lab here in Atlanta. It was over on Ponce de Leon. It was back in the warehouse building. There was a lab there, and they would just ship the film over there, and they would process it, and then the next night we'd run the dailies. But the problem is, it was all interlocked. The film was silent, and they, when they shoot a film, they record the soundtrack separately, and so they sync the soundtrack. The 35 millimeter soundtrack was just a magnetic strip in the middle with the video, and the editor would always mark the film. He would put an X where you load the film. He'd put an X where you load the audio, and you run the film and the audio track at the same time. It's interlocked on an interlock projector.
Hence why on film, when you shoot, you have a lot of sound footage is not usable due to noise in the background. You have to do a lot of Foley and voiceover work after the film's done. You go back in and re-record your voices. Yeah.
A lot of times, when actors are called back in, they don't like doing it. Sometimes they have to go back in and re-record stuff.
That's my stupid movie thing. I was in RoboCop 3, big deal.
That's cool. That's cool.
I was on a flop.
To y'all's point about noise, and the original Lost in Space show, the robot had moving parts in his bubble.
It was noisy
in the first 5 episodes, right? And it would interfere with the audio track of the actors, so they killed.
I like hearing that little gling.
I know. That was added in post. A lot of those noises were post production.
That just adds to it.
Robbie the robot was noisy too. His clicks inside his little helmet, his little things moving.
Oh, he was
in the
very
Forbidden
loud.
Planet.
He was very loud.
Very loud clicking.
Speaking of Lost in Space, if you notice behind me this red glowing object. What this is, it's one of Al's prized possessions. It's a beacon for a radio station. Like when you drive at night and you see a radio tower, and you see that red flashing light
on the top, yeah.
And now how this relates to Lost in Space, I've never told you guys this, but since Barry, a geek like me, if you will, is here, these guys are not geeks. Tom and Al, believe it or not, they're not geeks. Now, Al's a bit of a gear geek, but he's not a sci-fi geek. But
no.
Right, do you remember in Lost in Space when they would be in flight on the Jupiter 2? There were cool light beams that would glow when the ship was in motion, but when the ship was not in motion, they didn't glow. And it was about the same consistency. They probably based it on a radio beacon. You're the set designer.
Wow, yeah.
But so when we're doing the show, I feel like we're on the Jupiter 2, we're in flight. Isn't that crazy? I know, but that's what I think.
It's related.
So it reminds me of the Jupiter 2 when it's in flight. That set, that magnificent set. I have this. It'd have like a light going like this in the background, like little beams. Next time you see it, especially in the color episode, you can really see it. But it's only in the rare episodes where the ship is in flight, because most of the time they were crashed on a planet. Because Erwin Allen was cheap and he didn't want to pay for special effects.
6 degrees of Lost in Space.
That beacon there, I have 2 of them. One's in the basement, and this one here has been modified because an actual beacon on a radio tower has 2 600-watt bulbs in the top and the bottom. There's 2 bulbs in that top and the bottom, and if I had to run the 600-watt bulb, that'd be 1,200 watts, and that would just probably, run us out of here.
I'll have to disagree with you because his entire explanation right there qualified Al as a geek right there.
That's
it. And I'm going to tell you, there's a difference between a nerd and a geek.
Well,
I am a geek. I'm not a nerd. Nerds are all usually geeks because nerds are smart and geek. I was only a geek. I was never smart in math or anything, so that made me a geek only.
Well,
So that's why
people think those beacons are small, but they're pretty big.
I love it. And you got one in the basement, like I said.
They're big as a fire hydrant.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like the original light in it, though, right? I mean,
no, that one's been modified.
Yeah,
that has two 60-watt bulbs, top and bottom, because the socket was that big, and so my friend Walt, he took it and modified it and put a regular incandescent socket in it and put there's a flasher in the bottom of it.
Well, my headphones are off to the guys who change those bulbs because I've watched the videos on YouTube before when they climb up the towers. Yeah. I would never. I don't. And then the money they make, they only have to do like 2 or 3 a year, and they've made their money. It is insane watching that because I could never do that.
But what they've done now, the reason I got 2 of these, this was on the very top of the tower. Then they had, because it was a 450-foot tower, then they have another flashing beacon halfway down. But see, most radio stations are going to LEDs now,
Right,
and they
much
last
brighter,
forever.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what happened was they replaced the tower lights with the LEDs.
Right.
And I said, Bob, my engineer friend, I said, could you save me a couple of those beacons? Normally they just push them off and let them fall to the ground and break up. He says, okay. And so he had the guys just lower them down with ropes.
Oh, wow.
And did you tip him?
Yeah, I got him.
You tipped him some cash for that?
No.
That favor?
No,
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you.
I did. I took the guy out for lunch one time.
Okay.
No,
Well, so how long will these bulbs
last?
last?
Some of the newer ones are the white strobing looking ones too. They're the real bright white colored, the bright ones like camera flashes now.
That's in the daytime.
Daytime, okay.
And then
yeah,
at
all
night
right.
they switch to red. They
Wow.
automatically switch to red at night.
How long will these bulbs last? The old school bulbs?
They're just regular incandescent bulbs.
No, he's talking about the old school bulbs.
Like this bulb right
oh,
here.
they only
What's the life?
lasted maybe 4 or 5 months.
Shoot. Well, we always unplug it when we're done with the show.
Yeah,
'cause I don't
Well,
know.
this has been modified.
That one's been modified.
Like you said.
Yeah, the one downstairs is not.
Now, I have an announcement to make. Barry King's show, BK on the Air, looks like it's joining fistfulofradio.com in the near future.
That's right, and I wanted to save today to do it, and you did it. That's fantastic. I wanted to say that on y'all's show so you'll know.
Now, when is our show going to get on your radio station?
Wait a minute, you can't
Hey,
answer a question like
put
that.
him on the spot. He's not the program director.
Yeah, he's.
God. Now,
I'm lucky to be on there.
I wanted what I was hoping
honest.
before we run out of time. I
You
wanted
have
to
to part now.
I want to introduce my esteemed colleagues Tom and Al to your audience and explain that they've worked in media for years, and so this might be remedial for our regular listeners on fistfulradio.com and on the Nostalgic Podblast on Apple and everywhere else you can find us. But let's start with Tom. Tom, what's your story? You started in media. You're behind the scenes. You direct from behind the camera, but you were with Turner Classic Movies.
Well,
I thought Tom was those Mexican stations that are on the X down there.
That's a correct.
Right.
That's correct. Well, wait, that was an Italian. That was an Italian voice I was
ZZ
using.
Top song.
No, I started back in the 70s or something like that. Back in a local station called WVEC TV, Channel 13, in Norfolk, Virginia. And then got a call from a friend of mine that used to work there. He said they're looking for somebody at WTBS, and that's how I came to Atlanta.
And that's how I met Tom. I was already there.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get into it? What was your passion? Why did you want to get into this business?
I always did. I mean, every as a kid, I would watch a lot of TV, and I just kind of wanted to work in it. I didn't want to necessarily be on camera. But I wanted to be behind the scenes more than anything else, and I don't really know why. I went to college for it, and I always had a passion for it. But now that I've gotten older, I can care less. No,
and you've won Emmy Awards. You're very modest.
I'm kidding.
You don't like to talk about
just
yourself, but
kidding.
you've won multiple Emmy Awards. You've
Yes.
shown them to me. They're in these
Yes.
cool cases in
Yeah.
your basement.
Yeah.
And by the way, one day we'll get back to your studio. He has a fantastic studio. Tom Williams does. I mean, it's literally like a TV set. I mean, one of the tables is actually from the Weather Channel. Am I allowed to say that, or I guess I just did.
Yeah, his computer decided to take a dump. You know, and he's got to get it fixed.
Now, what about you, Al? You started. You told us at lunch. This is pretty cool. How you got to be at WTCG, WTBS Turner. How did you start there in 1977?
When I was 18 years old, I got a job working. Well, let me go back up a little bit. When I was 16, I got a job working in a movie theater.
Do I need to play music behind this?
No, you have to tearing tickets, right? And so around the corner was a radio station, WKLM, 980 AM. They were 5,000 watt daytimer, and they played rock and roll music. And so I would, after school, go down there and hang out on Fridays at the radio station until they signed off. because I got to know all the disc jockeys, and the lady that was assistant manager was friends of my mother, so therefore I got to go down to the radio station. Well, I made friends with the guys, and so they would come to the movies, and I let them in free, you know, and so then I got to be friends with them, and then I was offered a job playing religious tapes on Sunday morning. And so that's how I get my door in the radio. And then I got to fill in on the weekends and everything. And then when I graduated from high school, I did radio on the weekends, but I got a job at Channel 6, WECT. They were NBC affiliate in my hometown. Got a job in the film department. So
in the 60s?
Yes, 1968. Anyway.
Because you gave me Star Trek stills, publicity stuff from the 60s. Anyway, sorry.
That's not nice. What are you doing?
Playing cricket.
Oh,
yeah.
Is there a cricket? Jeez.
So you were in the station in North Carolina, NBC affiliate.
Yes.
And you got a lot of cool film from there, by the way, like the presidential debates and stuff.
I did. But then when I moved to Atlanta, I didn't have a job. And so...
Well, why would you move here if you didn't have a job?
My parents moved here.
Oh, okay.
And so I was living by myself at the beach, and I said, well, I'm kind of tired. I want to go. So I came to Atlanta. And I went downtown to West Peachtree Street to Channel 17, walked in and said, I'd like to have a job, you know? And so a girl named Alice, she worked in the film department. She says, okay, we'll hire you. They hired me. That's how I got in the door. And besides Alice, the first person I met was Bill Tush.
Obviously, this is before background checks. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
Well...
But anyway, so that's cool. Wow. I think that's neat. You just walked in and said, I'd like to work here.
Well,
and they said, no problem.
I didn't fill out an application, nothing.
Well, you're a nice guy. I mean, you don't look like...
The magic fairy.
You cause a problem.
Touched you with your...
He's just so mean, isn't he?
That happened to a lot of people, Al. That's exactly what happened to me. I just hung around and bugged the station and just got to know people. And I got hired while I was in high school. And a lot of people in radio and television, they did it that way.
Well, see, I drew cartoons. And that's how I got into WEC, really, is I impressed one of the directors.
Now, he doesn't talk about it very much, but he's a great cartoonist. So he can draw anything.
I drew a bunch of cartoons and stuff, and it was actually on one of the local shows. And there came an opening for a camera person. And that's how I.
Could you do a cartoon version of me if I posed for you once?
You don't got to pose.
I'd love that. Oh, you do it from memory. Wow,
he's
that's
really
amazing.
Good.
That's awesome.
He's really.
I'd use it in a promo on the station.
He's really good.
It's great.
I've seen him.
Oh yeah.
And then Al, of course, getting back to you, you also went into radio, and you were on at Kicks Country as a DJ.
Yeah.
Done a lot of radio work. A lot of people in the radio industry, past and present.
You want to hear me on Kicks?
Yeah. Play a little clip.
Let's hear a little clip of Al.
Wait a minute.
Al, you sound a lot like Lindsey Clark.
Listen. This is me. Listen. This is when I work at Kicks.
You sing really well.
Listen.
The music. WKHX FM, Marietta, Atlanta.
Feel the music.
Great country, Kicks 101.5.
Okay.
Oh, I wish I was.
Uh-oh. Better talk over this.
Yeah, you better talk over this. I mean, this is Elvis. You better.
Oh, we're going to get in trouble.
It's going to get dinged in a very big way.
Well, because of the song, we're going to get canceled.
Oh, we don't.
Kicks 101.5 with the Dixie Chicks, and tonight the Heartache's on me. At about 8 now, after 8 o'clock on this Wednesday night, and your forecast from 11 on Live Weather Watch calls for clear tonight. Our low's going to be in the upper 50s, and for your Thursday, mostly sunny, high in the mid-80s on Thursday, and on Thursday night, clear again, low in the upper 50s. And for your Friday now, mostly sunny with a high around 80 on Friday. Right now, mostly clear and 75 degrees.
And pay no attention to that.
I like the imaging.
Yeah, pay no attention to that weather.
No, but they had great jingles back in the day.
May I say from one man to another to you, Al,
yes.
and being totally secure in my sexuality and everything, that is a damn sexy voice you had on the radio.
Yeah,
that's
he
awesome.
still has a sexy voice.
Very good.
Well,
I loved it.
I was working. In fact, that night I was filling in for TJ, the guy that called in. He took the night off. Well, he had a vacation week, and so I filled in for him. But I just and I started out. I really was not a big country music fan, but I got to like it, because country music back in the '80s was actually pretty good. Today, I don't care for it too much.
You got me some free tickets.
I did. I got free tickets for.
You got me some. Free
So
tickets.
you were with Cumulus, and what was before Cumulus since 1981. right?
Yes, I've been in radio since.
And what was it?
in
Citadel.
Atlanta.
Explain. Will you just briefly say the companies that before Cumulus bought them? It was Citadel. It was
It was Cap City.
Disney Radio.
No, it was Cap City's ABC.
Okay.
And Cap Cities and ABC Television owned Kicks. And then Cap City sold out, and Disney bought into it. It was ABC Disney. And so it was ABC Disney for years.
Why did they sell? Why did Disney sell some station group, their radio group? I mean, they still have.
They wanted Disney sold ABC Disney. Well, ABC got out, and then Disney sold it to Citadel because Disney wanted to concentrate on movies and television. They wanted to get out of the radio business.
Oh.
And so they got out of the radio business, and the rest is history. And then Citadel bought them.
And then Susquehanna, is it? Or
no. Susquehanna owned Cumulus.
Okay.
Cumulus used to be Susquehanna.
Right. Okay, that's right.
And what happened was Citadel bought them, and then they ran it for a couple of years, but then they filed bankruptcy. And so the stockholder says, "Well, we want our money. You got to sell the radio stations." And that's when they busted them up, and Cumulus bought a bunch of them.
The clusters, as they call them.
They bought the Atlanta cluster. That's how they ended up with 106.7.
Yeah, which used to be a country station, Y106. Anyway, so Barry, you've sort of touched on your history in media, and I'm just a sales guy. That's how I met Al, and I found out we both collect 16mm film, became friends, and then I met Tom at Cinevision, which is a place here in Atlanta that screens movies, and they have private screenings, like for The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He was there when we were there a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, or something like that.
We had his house up for sale. He's selling his home here. I read a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Really?
The Rock. Yeah, I don't know if he's moving out of town or what.
You know who I used to meet and see all the time when I was at Cumulus was Shaq.
Shaq O'Neal, yeah.
Because he lives here now, but he did a podcast up at 680. And he was on 680 of the Fan. That's when the Fan was in the building with us. But he did a podcast called the Big Podcast, I think it's called. And he's actually pretty good. And so he was up there every Tuesday doing his podcast.
Wow!
And so that's how I met him. I got a picture on my phone with me and him.
He's a gentle giant.
Yeah, he's about as tall as this room.
And when he's walking down the hallway, there's a shadow. You would think there's a solar eclipse going on when he walks past the light.
His shadow weighs more than I do. Yeah,
but he's one of the nicest guys.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
And so I was recording a show called Real Estate Radio Atlanta one day, and Shaq was up there that Tuesday because they recorded on Tuesday, and one of the guys on the show says, "I sure like to meet him." So I went across the street, the hallway, then say, "We come in." So he came in and talked to him and stuff. They got the biggest kick out of that. That's cool.
Well, radio drama's been going on for years. I know what happened with Cumulus and all that thing that happened, a few years ago, and that was crazy. Yeah. The station I used to be with up in Cartersville, WYXC, it had been on the air since 1960 up there. It was an old station, WYXC, and two people fought over it. They had two different owners. They had both had 50% ownership in the station, and they went at it and whatnot. And one would come in and fire everybody, and then the other folks would bring them back in and say, no, we're in charge. And the fighting with it finally made it go dark and went out of business, and somebody else bought it. So that's why I lost my job there. So I never get into that with the stations. I told those guys, I'm like, listen, guys, all I'm here to do is to come in here and have fun with this show 2 hours every night, back when I was on at night, to do that. It's unfortunate that does happen with ownership.
Well, it's kind of sad, because Cumulus,
yeah.
when they just got rid of a lot of AM stations that they weren't high on their list to keep, and a lot of them they just donated to churches.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know that.
They gave them the license.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, they gave away a lot of AM stations.
Well, it's a tax write-off.
Yes.
And I know that companies can't survive without making money. No one has to tell me that. I know that's the case. But there's ways to do things and there's ways not to do things. There really is. And I don't like it when people are dirty and mean and stuff like that. You don't have to be that way.
Well, I never got into politics of radio like you. I just went in and did my job and went home.
That's what I did. And watching WKRP in Cincinnati, when I got into radio later in my life, I'm like, wow, it is just like WKRP. We had that guy's like Mr. Carlson, that guy's like Les Nessman, that guy's like Venus Flytrap, this guy's like her.
They say they based that show on WQXI in Atlanta.
Well, they did. It was Hugh Wilson. Hugh Wilson's from Atlanta. He worked for WQXI, and that's exactly what he did. Skinny Bobby Harper is Dr. Johnny Fever. And I listened to Skinny Bobby Harper when I was a kid.
When I first came to Atlanta, WQXI was a big top 40 rocker.
Oh, yeah.
And Coyote McLeod was on at night. I used to listen to him all the time.
And Z93, long before they changed, a lot of people loved 96 Rock with their rock, and they had their 96 Rock tag.
Steve Mitchell.
I was more of a Z93 guy because they were more pop rock music, and I was listening to them
I used to love the
years.
Z93 commercial. I forget the woman that did the commercial for Z93
with
they
her
said,
close up of her lips.
Yeah,
yeah. She did them for a lot of stations in America. Yeah, she did that for a lot of them. Yeah.
Did you guys ever win any?
And the guy would say, "You have an amazing voice," and she would say, "You have an amazing radio station."
That's right.
Did you guys ever win anything off a radio station, or no? Because you worked there, so you're probably not eligible.
When I was a teenager, I won stuff. I used to call all the time.
Same here.
But see, we had the rotary dial, so I would dial the complete number and then wait and dial the last one.
To get in there right under the wire.
Yeah. I won a transistor radio that way one time.
Fantastic.
I bet you still have it too, don't you?
I still do.
Oh wow!
I won a tickets to go see Chicago at Lakewood. Not Lakewood. I think it was Chastain.
Was that from WSB?
And a $100 gift card from the
Buckhead Life Group.
Buckhead Life Group
restaurant.
And I never got it because of COVID. Because COVID, I
Oh,
won it
no,
back in
yeah.
February.
Well, see, they weren't letting people.
February
come to the
2020.
station.
Yeah.
And they should have bailed it to you.
Well,
Yeah.
they should have. And they said, they'll let me know when I can come in and pick them up when it's safe. And blah. Never heard another word from them. Now, I'm sure I could, find out. But
well, they should have mailed them to you.
What were you playing? It was a Mark Aram show on the
It's a
big
Mark Aram
station
show.
across the street, playing Match Game or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, let's listen to another clip of BK real quick before we go. And this was not from this Saturday; it was from the Saturday last, is what it was from. So let's listen to that.
A New York woman investigating a hole, not a cornhole, behind her bathroom mirror. Went through this woman found a hole behind her bathroom mirror. She went through the proverbial looking glass and made a startling discovery. What do you think she found? What do you think this is growing? Where do you think this is going?
A safe.
A safe. That's a good guess.
Something valuable.
No, there may have been that in what she found. She found an entire empty apartment behind her wall through her mirror.
Like they walled off a complete.
Yes, Samantha Hart.
Well, where are you supposed to keep the people you drug when you're playing Pepe Le Pew?
She said she was investigating the source of a cold draft in her Roosevelt Island apartment.
Back to my special apartment.
And when she says cold draft, she doesn't mean beer. In her Roosevelt Island apartment, she tracked the blowing air to her bathroom mirror. Hartstow removed the mirror and discovered it was hiding a large square hole in a dark room. Ooh. Then I'd start to get worried.
That would actually freak me out. Like that's a subplot to a horror movie.
She climbed through the opening and discovered the room was part of a 2-story vacant apartment. 2-story. Wow. She said that she explored the whole residence, finding only trash bags and an uninstalled toilet and an empty water bottle. That's even more curious, sir. That we found all of this. An empty water bottle. Does that mean someone had been there not too long ago and was, I don't know. Maybe. Hartstow said that she made sure the door to the unfinished apartment was locked before making her way back to her own residence. So I guess there was a door leading outside from there. So where would it be out?
And why was there a hole that was big enough to crawl through that a mirror was being used to block the entrance and exit?
She said the front door to the vacant domicile was located elsewhere in the apartment complex from her own home. She said she contacted maintenance to patch the hole in her bathroom, and a representative from the management office is expected to visit her apartment soon to investigate her discovery. Who knows? They may have done it already since the reporting of this
I'd be curious to know who had the apartment before her. Maybe this was a guy keeping his rich little, not as rich, but his little few on the side.
Right. Okay, so little few on the side.
Isn't that interesting? I always liked secret rooms.
That's a segment we do every show called Flash the Audience. We'll flash the audience the news, the weird, the strange, and the bizarre, and I just go find those weirdest stories for a segment and just report on some of the most bizarre things that you can't believe is true but are. It's just crazy.
And you've got cool imaging like Flash Gordon. He goes, Flash! While you do that segment.
But here's the funny thing. I saw a video of that. I don't know if it's that same woman or not, but she had the same problem. This was on Facebook, if you can believe that. And she had the same issue coming from her mirror. As they took the mirror off, and the camera followed her through the hole, and she went in there. There was a bed. There was other stuff in there, and somebody had been living there.
Furnished thing that's hanging out in there.
It's kind of spooky to think that this was in New York. Yeah. It's kind of scary to think that something like that was going on.
Well, all we could think of is if she discovered it, could she just talk to him and go, hey, knock the wall out, and can I just have this extra square footage for the rest of my apartment at the same price? Yeah. That would be great. So, yeah.
Exactly, because you would think that seeing how nobody's using it, she could just make it a movie room or something. I don't know.
Just a clip of a little snippet of what we do on Saturday on BK on the Air.
Well, it's about time we have to hang up the old...
Can I do one thing real quick?
Yeah.
And, I was, when I played the Kicks air check briefly, you talk about the imaging and the jingles. Well, the radio station that I worked for used the Pam's jingles. Remember Pam's?
Yeah,
The
oh, yeah,
jingle
yeah.
company? And this was the station that was around the corner from the movie theater I worked at as a teenager. This is what their jingle sounded like.
WKLM, Channel 98. Do you remember?
That was great.
That's good. Now, is that a Pam's jingle?
There's the Pam's jingles. I think there's...
Do you know we still have ours at WBHF and I play it? It's ours is
That's some long.
You do play them, and I love that on your show. You play the retro jingles.
When I play those, Alan
WBHF.
hates those. He's like, "Why are you playing those?" I'm like, "Alan, they're old. It's
They're
nostalgic. They're great.
nostalgic.
Can I play them?" Like,
I love
the jingles, the harmony.
I love jingles.
Yeah,
you know,
great.
there's one company today that still do radio jingles, TM Century. They
Okay, so they still do it.
They still.
Yeah,
They,
that's great. Well, that's good.
And
to know
actually, you
there's-
can have jock shouts made. We should have them made. They're cheap.
We should.
You know.
We really should. All right, Chance has got
Yes.
one more thing, right?
Do you know what that music's from? I just want to ask you real quick, Barry.
It sounded familiar, but
It's from Lost in Space season 3.
It's
it
a
was
commercial
like,
stinger.
It's a stinger.
Oh yeah.
Station identification.
And the logo came up. Yeah,
I got
that's
that
right.
off the soundtrack. Anyway, my
love
quick
that
one more thing, and we got to wrap. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to be joining Fistful of Radio in the near future. We're going to have like a nostalgic Saturday, bookends, as you said on your show.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know where Stefan, the owner of the station, is going to place your show, but hopefully close to ours. I thought it'd be pretty cool for the weekend because we got the pros Monday through Friday on that station, and then we do our thing on the weekend just to keep the seats warm.
And may I give a shout out to Stefan King for and thank him for that. I
Any
really
relation to
appreciate
you,
it.
Barry
Hey,
King?
I don't know. We could be related. I need to ask where his mom was in the mid '60s, or his dad. But yeah, same last name, but not related. But hey, I'll consider him a brother if he would like. That's great because he was a nice guy, and I'm very happy to be on fistfulradio.com.
And where else can people find you?
They can hear me live 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on WBHF Radio. That's AM 1450 and 100.3 FM in Cartersville, Georgia. We do broadcast the show live every Saturday on the TuneIn app. If you're not close enough to hear our hamster signal that we have.
But
on
you
our
do
radio
stream it, your station.
And I do stream it on the TuneIn app and on WBHFradio.org and turn into a podcast later on for Spotify, SoundCloud, and Anchor and YouTube.
And you're on YouTube. Great.
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
It's been a great time.
We're going on a
It's
road
been
trip.
fun.
No show next week. No show next week because of Easter. But we're going to possibly take a road trip. And when we return, we'll have some cool video for you.
We will see you next time, PK. Thank you. Thanks again for being on.
Thank all of you. Thank you.
See you.
We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to the outer limits.
Go back.
Okay.
I got to save this.
So we're staying on Facebook for a little bit longer. Just to explain out, I had texted Tom. I thought I included you in this. Just an idea, and we don't have to do this, but remember that field trip to the museum that Tom was talking about? I was going to suggest.
We
didn't announce anything. I just said we're going to take a field trip. I didn't say any details or anything like that. But what I'm saying is I'm willing to drive from either here or Tom's. Just think it over, and then we will go to that museum. And
We will go to the Laurel Hardy Museum.
oh, you gave it away. I wasn't going to say what it is.
I told him.
Oh.
It's okay. I forgot we're on Facebook.
It's okay. It's okay.
You didn't hear that.
It's okay. But hopefully within the next 2 weeks, there'll be a date that works with Tom's busy schedule at the Weather Channel, and we can make that happen. And I'm willing to drive, so we'll shoot some video.
No, but I told you, when the first chance you get, you need to go up to Metropolis, Illinois, to the
Yes.
Superman celebration. That's really fun.
It's in the
place to go up there.
summertime, isn't it? every
It's
year?
July or
What,
June
what
or
show
something.
number
Yeah,
is this?
it's great.
You want to go with us? We go.
I probably wouldn't be able to on a weekday. I'll be working, but
that's right.
I could go somewhere else later in the future if you let me know.
You can do a Saturday. No, you do your show
Well,
Saturday.
I'm off by noon, so yeah, it'd have to be after 12 o'clock.
We'd have to go. We could go on a Sunday when we're not working.
Right.
Susan could come. I don't. Any problem with that? 55. Double nickels. 55.
Make sure you've killed my board because I'm getting ready to turn it off.
It is killed.
And here's the, I'm going to put his wire back. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. No show next week because of Easter, and probably not the week after that, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks. And hopefully we'll be on your show. You know, I know there's some issues that need to be worked out. You got that?
We'll make it happen. I promise. We will make that happen.
And I'm glad you're going to be on Fistful of Radio on the weekend. That's cool.
I'm very happy about that. Thanks to Stefan King. And thanks for you introducing me to Stefan, too. That's great.
Yep. He was at the Newsmaker line.
And Jim Gossett.
Where do you
nice
want
to talk to Jim.
To go?
Jim Gossett.
Thanks for letting me borrow that wire. That's a good show, huh?
No, it stays. It stays up under there.
Okay. So are we still rolling on Facebook? Or?
Yes, we're still rolling.
I guess we should kill it unless...
And the internet didn't go up. How about that?
I know. That phone call helped. And you rebooted. Well, he rebooted.
I rebooted it.
We got to do that every time.
It's me because I'm here. I'm like, I have an electronic thing in my heart I didn't tell you about that helps.
A pacemaker?
That helps boost all that stuff.
Like a bionic.
Right,
You have a
that's
bionic
right.
Heart.
An atomic heart.
How I met Barry, just so y'all know, on Facebook, I found his show, and I just thought it was the greatest. And so I said, hey, we do a nostalgia show. Would you check us out? And I think something like that. And then we connected on Facebook, on social media, and now he's here.
Well, we met in prison 20 years ago, but that was we only said hey. Then later on, we were formally introduced to each other. Yeah. So
you let me have the top bunk.
Well, you were kind of formally introduced in prison, but that's another.
You let me have the top.
Yeah,
bunk.
we don't want to. Pictures of that.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad we worked out the technical stuff, and you know, I guess you'll reboot the OBS software.
Got some issues. I'm going to try to update the software.
Yeah.
Update it now while I'm here.
Well, I don't know how to do that.
You open up OBS, upper left-hand corner.
Do we need
update software?
We need to end the video then first.
Yeah, of course.
Well,
duh.
You never know.
So did you enjoy yourself?
So when you start talking about all of that you're talking about just now, you know what I hear in my head? Wah, 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 wah. The teacher on Charlie Brown, because I don't understand any of it. I had a great time, Al. To answer your question, it was great. Thank you for having me up here. I appreciate you inviting me into your home.
Have to do it again?
I love it. Just as long as you go out and eat first, that's great. I love
We
that.
always do
Yeah,
that. We always have a lunch.
Must have food.
We
Must have
review our
stuff.
Mexican restaurant.
And I screwed up. I was going to do a Facebook post. You know how we do sometimes, like the tag, and I forgot to do that. We were all so busy.
And before we started, right when we started, I shared the live feed on both of my things, so
Cool.
everybody got to see it on all of that too if they
Cool.
click the link. So
Well, I
we're
guess we
out
should
there.
know.
We're out there.
I'll send the audio. I always send it to him, and he can forward it.
Well, we'll have it now because there's nothing to do to it, right? You
No,
can just
it's self-contained.
we can save it, and I can send it if you want. And want me to send it to him, or do you want to?
Yeah,
do it?
because if one of you send it to me, I
I'll
can
send
I can
it
put it
tonight.
in. I can put it on my own
I'll send it
personal
tonight.
file.
If he
that I
saves
got.
it to me today,
Okay.
if he saves it to me today, which he probably will, I'll get it to you tonight.
Well, Stefan told me the ways that you guys send the show to him for Fistful Radio. Mine only runs an hour and a half. So I just use I just send it to him on Google Drive mail attachment. He gets it. So it's no
Whatever
big deal.
works for him.
Yeah, it works for him. Fine.
That's y'all's thing.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
That's cool.
It's perfect.
If that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
You still
I
use
love it.
Facebook?
Who, me?
Chance.
Oh.
Do I use Facebook?
You do.
What do you mean?
We transfer.
Yeah, I use WeTransfer all the time. That's all I use. I love it. Should we end the video, I guess?
Yes, you can say goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Thanks, Barry.
Salute.
BK on the air.